The man and his classmates were summoned to another world by the goddess. The classmates were amazed by this magical world, but Jiang Han's only thought was to return home quickly. Why should I give up my warm and comfortable home to adventure in this world? The goddess who summoned him said that if Jiang Han didn't want to, she couldn't force him. In the end, the goddess did send him away, but he was still in this world. And everyone else had disappeared. There were only monsters around him. Just now, a group of students were summoned to this world by the goddess, the chosen heroes. The evil demon king is about to revive. This world is falling into a crisis. Therefore, we need the help of heroes. But the students still found everything in front of them unbelievable. At this moment, one student raised the first question. Does this world have levels, skill status windows, and monsters like in video games? Yes. The goddess gave an affirmative answer. Then came the students' series of questions. The goddess answered their questions one by one. In her answers, they learned that everyone's abilities were different. And only by gaining the approval of the gods in this world and receiving their blessings could they become true heroes. At the same time now, we cannot contact the original world. Only after defeating the Demon King can we make one wish come true. Do you have any other questions? At this moment, Jiang Han slowly raised his left hand. Please send me back to Earth. I think I made myself clear just now. You can only make a wish after defeating the Demon King. But I don't want to be a hero. Nor do I want to save this world. A world with countless lives, currently facing destruction. Don't you feel any compassion? Sorry, I don't want to worry my family. Then the goddess stepped forward to ask if anyone else felt the same way and didn't want to be a hero. Please step forward. I won't force anyone. However, in the end, only Jiang Han stood in front of the portal. Mr. Jiang, it seems you are not suited to be a hero. I will send you away from here. Looking at the deep portal in front of him, Jiang Han walked in without turning back. But when he opened his eyes again, he found himself in a dense forest. Behind him, he could hear the footsteps of a beast. Jiang Han turned to look back with anticipation. But what he saw were 3 vicious half-beasts. The gods are tricking me. This is definitely not Earth. Meanwhile, a holy light descended upon the temple. Jiang Han's classmates were all transported to this place. The trial of the gods was about to begin. On the other side, Jiang Han was evading the monsters chasing him. That damn goddess dares to mess with me. She clearly has no intention of sending me back to Earth. Since this is really a magical world, maybe there could be some miracle. The next second, his status screen appeared in front of him. Jiang Han, level 1, no blessings, under curse status. Languages of races hostile to heroes will be automatically translated. Experience gained from hunting and achievements will be greatly reduced. Damn it. She even cursed my upgrade window. Bastard. She actually cursed my upgrade window too. And facing the half-beast's crazy pursuit, Jiang Han also felt exhausted. That damn goddess better not let me catch her. Just then, an arrow accurately hit Jiang Han's knee. What is happening? A group of elves appeared, holding bows and arrows. Then, the half-beasts began negotiating with the elves. Seizing the opportunity, Jiang Han tried to move his body and escape. After a moment, he hid behind a large tree. Should I pray to the gods? This is all that damn goddess' fault. I would rather die than pray to some so-called gods. Just as he was preparing to accept his death, a prompt appeared. A god is watching you. Although he didn't know what was going on, his body sincerely prayed for the god to save him. The god then asked him why he was alone. Jiang Han was about to say it was all that goddess' fault, but after thinking for a moment, what if they are all in cahoots? That would be the end. He quickly asked the god to save him first. However, the god refused. Because gods do not help strangers. Are these gods outsiders? This question puzzled the god. What is an outsider? The term outsider doesn't have a good connotation. If another god curses me too, I would really be finished. Then, an idea struck him. An outsider refers to a lone wolf in the wilderness. The god really liked this term. Jiang Han let out a sigh of relief. He finally passed the test. He quickly took the opportunity to ask the god to help him. But the god asked, are you also an outsider? I am also an outsider. That's why I was summoned here alone. The god began to think whether to help an outsider. At the same time, recalling his own sad past. Then, he raised his left hand high. The god decided to help the outsider. A healing holy light rushed towards Jiang Han. The arrow in his knee disintegrated instantly. Jiang Han also felt all his pain completely disappear. So this guy is really a god. Watching Jiang Han move freely, the god felt quite proud. The status bar also showed a blessing for being an outsider. The outsider's status will be reset, except for death, all statuses. If the lone wolf leaves the wilderness, something will happen. So if I am no longer an outsider, I won't get this blessing. The god clearly stated that he would only help outsiders. Just then, the half-beasts discovered their hidden lunch. Jiang Han immediately stopped worrying about the meaning of outsider. He began to run. Under the god's blessing, Jiang Han didn't feel any fatigue. Even when injured, he healed instantly. But when he thought he could escape with this buff, there was no way forward. Looking at the bottomless cliff, he knew without thinking that jumping would mean death. Without thinking, he knew jumping would definitely mean death. But behind him, there was a group of hungry half-beasts relentlessly chasing him. What should he choose at this moment? At a critical moment, he had a sudden idea. He turned around and said to all the half-beasts, "I have so little meat. It's not enough for all of you. How about this? Whoever catches me first, I'll give them the most delicious part." Upon hearing this, the simple-minded beasts immediately charged at him. At this moment, Jiang Han grabbed the nearest beast. With a twist of his body, he fell backward, taking the beasts down with him. During the fall, Jiang Han couldn't stop laughing. The beasts thought he had gone crazy. With a loud crash, they fell to the bottom of the cliff. When he opened his eyes again, Jiang Han found he had not died. The WG will happen ADV if it weren't for instant death. He would heal immediately. Even the god admired his courage. But just then, there was a half-beast still alive. It raised its weapon to kill Jiang Han, and this dying wolf also had a status effect. It was a level 3 Blue Moon Butcher. His high level was probably the reason he was still alive. Then, Jiang Han picked up a sharp stone. Probably, killing higher-level enemies would provide more experience. Meanwhile, the Saintess was teaching the students about the basics. There are 2 ways to level up, either by killing creatures with a status window to gain experience, or by receiving the god's blessing to level up. At this point, someone asked, "Does the god really watch over us?" The Saintess gave an affirmative answer, but gods are not human, so don't judge them by human standards. Some of the male gods also agreed with this view. They even said they were no different from air. Does this mean that the god will bless those they find more interesting? The wind god appreciated this idea. The next second, he received the god's blessing. Level 1, F-grade charm blessing, no curse. Then an enchanting charm radiated from his body. The surrounding male classmates instantly entered dog mode. The saint immediately advised her to stop using the skill, but by then, it was too late. The female goddess expressed her dissatisfaction. Zhang Mu's status bar also displayed a punishment. All damage you receive will be increased. Whenever you perform an impure action, you will receive a terrible punishment. The saint explained to her at this point, once you are cursed or blessed, it will stay with you until death. Even a slight touch caused Zhang Mu to scream in pain. At this point, the princess beside him told him not to give up. The curse can be offset by blessings, and the pain will ease with level progression. The scene shifted, and Jiang Han had already taken down the level 3 Blue Moon Butcher. However, his level hadn't changed at all. Could it be the effect of it? Or perhaps upgrading requires a lot of experience. The god beside him remained silent, just as he was about to look for an escape route. Those damned orcs just won't leave. At this moment, the orcs sniffed the air. They immediately detected Jiang Han's scent nearby, and started heading toward the source of the smell. Jiang Han hid behind a tree, and quietly observed the werewolf's movements. After thinking for a moment, he looked at the vines on the tree. Using the rope and stones he had just gathered, made a sling. I will let these man-eating monsters experience the power of science. As long as I keep spinning the rope, I can generate immense impact force. Although with my strength, I can only maintain it for 5 seconds. Under this outsider's powerful buff, as long as I avoid fatal damage, I will recover immediately. In other words, I can avoid fighting on. At this moment, a stone hit Jiang Han's head directly. Instantly, the werewolves pounced on him. But the next second, they were all sent flying by Jiang Han. Soon, all the werewolves were lying on the ground. Even the god praised him. At this point, looking at a surviving werewolf, he asked, "Where do humans live?" Faced with the brutal Jiang Han, the wolf immediately confessed and pointed towards the distance. Since Jiang Han gave him a quick end, at this moment, Jiang Han realized that although he had killed many monsters, his level still hadn't changed. Just as he was pondering the reason, he suddenly heard human voices nearby. Jiang Han looked towards the source of the sound. He saw 2 men and a woman speaking in a language from another world. But the next second, an arrow hit the large tree next to Jiang Han. Jiang Han was about to explain that he was not a bad person, but he realized that they couldn't communicate due to the language barrier. So Jiang Han made a surprising decision. He raised both hands and knelt on the ground, showing that he had no ill intentions. But surely they would understand body language. After a brief exchange among the 3 of them, the red-haired woman actually readied her bow and aimed to shoot. Wait, I'm really a good person. The scene changed. Jiang Han began to follow the 3 of them towards the village. Soon they saw the smoke from a fire in the distance. Just when he thought he could finally leave the forest, a group of ferocious half-beasts charged from behind. But with the help of strong teammates, the half-beasts were dealt with quickly. Just then, a silver wolf king suddenly appeared and attacked the archer. Seeing this, Jiang Han immediately intervened to block the attack. The wolf king, unwilling to give up, extended its claws, ready to crush Jiang Han's head. Jiang Han quickly dodged and took the opportunity to stab his knife into the wolf king's head. The wolf king peacefully collapsed to the ground. This time, thanks to you guys, or I'd be in real trouble. However, what greeted him was a teammate's sword. Jiang Han, pierced by the arrow in his chest, collapsed heavily in front of his teammate. This damn guy almost ruined our plan. It's a good thing the Wolf King attacked. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known how dangerous he was. He seemed like a weakling. But he's actually quite capable. If we let him live, our original plan will definitely fail. Indeed, a person like him would never be willing to be sold as a slave. However, the dagger he used looks like a fine item. Then, the blonde guy stepped forward to take Jiang Li's weapon. But at this moment, Jiang Han's status bar appeared in front of the blonde guy. Hero-y, and only the living have a status bar. The next second, a dagger cut the blonde guy's neck. You bastards, wait to die. The two in front of him were terrified and suspected that he was an immortal monster. Before Uncle Beard could strike, Jiang Han was already in front of him. In an instant, he slit Uncle Beard's throat. Then, another arrow shot at Jiang Han. This thing can't kill me, he said, then walked toward the woman. The red-haired woman kept apologizing, saying, I'm really sorry. Spare me, you ungrateful person. When you stabbed me earlier, why didn't you think of this outcome? Now you regret it. What are you saying? The scene shifted. The man was now wearing the woman's clothes. Although the clothes were still a bit tight, it still felt uncomfortable. The god behind him immediately laughed, saying that the god respects personal preferences. This is not a preference. He is the only one with a similar build to mine. The other two are wearing heavy armor, which doesn't suit me. This one, however, suits me just fine. At this moment, Jiang Han remembered the status bar that appeared when the woman was dying. She clearly wasn't a hero, but she also had a blessing from a god. Could it be that in this world, receiving a blessing from a god is a common occurrence? At this moment, the god told Jiang Han, this is not something you should be concerned with. Have you decided where to go next? After thinking for a moment, Jiang Han decided to stick to the original plan and head to the human village. The scene shifted, and Jiang Han arrived at the village. Although there was a language barrier, he couldn't understand what the guard was saying at all. But with the help of money, he moved around the village freely. Thankfully, he had a big bag of gold from his previous loot. He then found a place to wash up properly. Just then, a knocking sound suddenly came from outside, and the voice asked Jiang Han to open the door. But due to the goddess's curse, Jiang Han could only communicate with hostile races. So, the person outside was definitely not a good person. But he didn't know what race they were. An elf, a human, or something else. Jiang Han quickly dressed and prepared for battle. He cautiously opened the door. Then he gestured that the person could enter. The visitor claimed to be the village chief. He had heard that a traveler speaking a different language had arrived, so he came to check it out. Jiang Han, that's quite a unique name. Jiang Han was stunned. This guy can actually see my info. If you don't want to be seen, you should hide your status window. He then said disappointedly, I thought you were an elf. But clearly, you're a foreigner. This village has deep ties with the elves. The elves had once greedily driven all the werewolves out of the forest. This caused the village at the foot of the mountain to be invaded by the werewolves. Countless villagers were killed. Finally, I have one question. Clearly, this paralysis potion was added to your dinner. Why haven't you reacted yet? Upon hearing this, Jiang Han immediately grabbed his dagger and quickly rushed toward the village chief. But within a second, his body became weak and he collapsed to the ground. This was a super strong potion specially prepared for the elves. You're not wrong. It's just that your luck isn't great. Soon, Jiang Han was taken to the dungeon. People only know the werewolves as the villains, but in reality, the werewolves are victims. It's those greedy elves who are our true enemies. Just now, after the village chief angrily pointed out the elves' crimes, he showed the curse he had received. As a mortal enemy of the elves, your life will be greatly shortened, and this is exactly why he wants to sacrifice Jiang Han. At this moment, Jiang Han's head caught his interest. Where did you get it? Looking at the elves behind the village chief, Jiang Han didn't want to end up like that. I found it after killing an elf. It's a trophy. We share a common enemy. But Changxi had no intention of letting him go. You've seen my status. You should know I'm a black mage. Jiang Han looked confused. I wouldn't have noticed if you hadn't said it. The village chief waved his hand. An elf girl fell to the ground. The village chief raised a wax torch to begin the ritual. The elf's curse is constantly eroding my life, but I can extend my life through sacrifices. As a reward for killing the elf, I will let you die without pain. Well, I really must thank you for that. But I still have one last thing to say. I'm eager to hear your final words. What would you like to say? All these years, no one has acknowledged your efforts. You must be very lonely. So you understand me, don't you? Of course, after all, I'm an outsider. Hehe. You said outsiders are lone wolves. In that case, I'm also an— Today is a great day. Finally, I've met someone who understands my great mission. But I am an outsider, so I must continue being a lonely wolf. Then, an elf was placed in the sacrificial array. As the village chief slowly activated the array, the elf's life instantly faded, turning into charcoal. Haha, but Jiang Han noticed. The village chief explained that he wasn't sacrificing the elf for life extension. Then he forcefully tore open his chest. His chest actually had a wolf's head. That's right, I sacrifice elves to gain the power of wolves, a combination of two races who harbor hatred for elves. I will soon use my human intelligence and the wolf's physique to complete my transformation. I am the real outsider. Thanks to you telling me what an outsider is, so I will make good use of your life. Then, the village chief activated the dark magic array beneath Jiang Han's feet. Comrade Jiang Han, hand over your life to me. At this moment, Jiang Han realized that the activation of dark magic actually required the consent of the sacrificial offering. But even if he didn't agree, he could not escape the village chief's grasp. In a moment of desperation, Jiang Han quickly said, I have one request before I die. The village chief impatiently replied, what is it now? I want to see Misa one last time before I die. Misa, you mean that mercenary with the bow? Why do you want to see him? because I am his lover. Upon hearing this, the village chief grabbed Jiang Li's collar. Stop talking nonsense. There is nothing in this village that I don't know. You think I don't know? The blonde guy is actually Misa's lover, right? Your information is outdated. If you don't believe me, just smell the scent on me. Indeed, the scent on you is really Misa's. After thinking for a moment, the village chief agreed to Jiang Han's request. If you manage to survive after the sacrifice, I will let you see Misa. In the next moment, the magic array emitted a bright light, and Jiang Han's life was rapidly draining away. But after the array was activated, Jiang Han, under the blessing of the outsider, fully healed. Before the village chief could react, Jiang Han had already punched him and shattered his teeth. The village chief, in pain, covered his jaw. You dare to trick me? Looking at the unharmed Jiang Han, how could you survive the dark magic? This is, of course, due to the blessing of the gods. Reset my state. Since I survived, you must keep your promise and let me go. Then, he charged towards the gate with an elven captive. However, the village chief clearly had no intention of keeping his promise. As long as I release the lifespan I took from you, the contract will be nullified. The village chief said. Then, life energy returned to Jiang Han's body in waves. Just as the village chief thought his plan was about to succeed, his life continued to drain away. It wasn't until he became a white-haired old man that it stopped. Are you an immortal vampire? No one can lose so much life force and remain unscathed, Jiang Han responded. This is because I'm the apostle of an outsider. But just as Jiang Han prepared to leave, the wolf head on the village chief's chest began to roar. I'll turn you into meat paste. Then, red energy clung to the village chief's hand, and he charged towards Jiang Han with great momentum. In an instant, Jiang Han's chest was slashed. This technique was called the werewolf swordsmanship. I intended to use it against powerful elves, but just as the wolf head spoke, it was shocked by the sight before it. Jiang Han's wound quickly healed. Jiang Han, in a victorious state, easily knocked him down. Jiang Han effortlessly freed all the imprisoned elves. He even called for the villagers here. But just as Jiang Han thought everything was over, he slowly turned around. He saw the villagers glaring at him. At first, Jiang Han thought they were sending him off, but then the scene shifted. Jiang Han was once again cornered at the edge of a cliff. He didn't know what the elves had told the villagers. With no way out, he had no choice but to jump off the cliff. But this time, there were no werewolves to cushion his fall. However, he was lucky enough to land on a large tree. Just then, Jiang Han noticed a group of werewolves passing below. After the betrayal by the elves, Jiang Han even felt that these werewolves seemed more trustworthy. He then enthusiastically jumped down. Without breaking a sweat, Jiang Han easily took down 3 werewolves. At this point, he realized his strength and speed had significantly increased. Did I level up without noticing? However, when he checked his status, it was still at level 1. But the stats had definitely increased a lot. Just as he wondered what this number meant, a god nearby told him the higher the number, the better. Jiang Han rolled his eyes. Thanks for the useful info. At this moment, he remembered he still had some questions for the werewolves at his feet. He wondered if his enemy was a powerful god. Even if he reached level 2, there wouldn't be any chance of completing his revenge. There would be no chance of completing his revenge. If I could master the werewolf, sort of the material leader, I would have a better chance of improving. So I asked the werewolf how to use swordsmanship. But the werewolf's answer was simply the power of flesh. Jiang Han thought for a long time, but still couldn't figure out what connection there was between flesh and swordsmanship. In order to successfully improve before the goddess, Jiang Han decided to follow the werewolf and study the power of flesh. In the following days, Jiang Han carefully observed every time the werewolf ate. Finally, he discovered that after eating, the power in the werewolf's stomach gradually increased. Although this method was inefficient, it was far simpler than using black magic sacrifices like the to gain power. During these days of eating, the werewolf also became significantly stronger. However, the swollen werewolf began to think that Jiang Han, this talking meat, would taste even better. In the end, he even tried to eat Jiang Han, but having comprehended the true power of flesh, Jiang Han used the werewolf swordsmanship. In an instant, he defeated the arrogant werewolf. It really was magical. Triggered by that intense emotion, a special chemical reaction was unleashed. Even a desire for meat surged from deep within. However, I feel no one can use this power, because it constantly consumes Jiang Han's life force. Fortunately, Jiang Han's outsider blessing can immediately restore his condition after consuming his life force. Saying Yorja Mashangwa Bushir Yiger Lo Dong GBADSH. But Jiang Han became angrier and angrier. I should be living a happy life lying in bed playing on my phone. Now I have to adventure in this monster-filled alternate world, even being chased by the evil natives. Soon, he returned to the outskirts of the village, ready to begin his first revenge plan. Taking advantage of the moment the patrol left, Jiang Han secretly approached the edge of the wall. Looking at the several-meter-high fence, Jiang Han was eager to try. With the help of his dagger, he instantly jumped over the high wall. Then, Jiang Han began his next plan. Just as a guard happily walked out of the outhouse, Jiang Han had already silently approached from behind. Without giving him any chance to resist, he slashed his throat. Then, he dragged the body to the back of the outhouse. Soon, a pile of guards' bodies appeared here. But Jiang Han noticed something strange. Shouldn't both elves and humans need to use the toilet? Why can't I see any elves? At this moment, a murmur of conversation came from afar. Jiang Han curiously looked over. It was the villagers escorting a group of bound elves. They soon appeared in the dungeon. The blonde man shouted loudly, "We must not let these elves go. Otherwise, our homeland will be invaded again." They shouted, "For the sake of our comrades, in the name of the village chief." Then they stabbed the elves in the chest. The dungeon was immediately filled with the elves' cries of despair. Before long, dozens of elves had collapsed in a pool of blood. In the end, only the elf counselor, Sela, remained, awaiting judgment. But because of Sela's high status, they hesitated to act. At this moment, Sela spoke. "I can understand your feelings, but you have killed our savior, just to protect your own secrets." At this time, the blonde man relented and said, "As long as you keep this secret, we will let you go." Even the leader suggested, "If you lie for us, we will let you go." But Sela clearly had no intention of compromising. "As an elf, I will never lie." Seeing this, the bald man ready to give Sela a quick death. Just as Sela prepared to face death, the bald man in front of him suddenly collapsed. As expected, Jiang Han had arrived at the dungeon just in time. "It's you. We meet again. I should take care of these villagers first, whether it's the elves who betrayed me, or the villagers who have been mysteriously chasing me. I've planned to kill them all from the start." At this moment, one of the villagers begged Jiang Han to spare her, though Jiang Han understood her plea. It was too late for that. With a wave of his hand, he killed her. Another woman tried to escape, but Jiang Han shot her in the head with perfect accuracy. The revenge operation. It seems that taking down this big guy first was a wise choice. At this time, Sela tried to communicate with Jiang Han, but Jiang Han couldn't understand what she was saying. Seeing this, Sela showed him her status screen. "Is she showing this to me on purpose? I only have one blessing." "Is she showing this to me on purpose? I only have one blessing." He actually has 3 blessings, and they're all at a high level. The highest level blessing is, it greatly increases the chances of taming high-level animals. But showing me this must have another purpose. "Are you trying to tell me your name is Sela?" The elf immediately smiled and nodded in response to Jiang Han. Jiang Han, who was focused on revenge, actually felt a slight sense of attraction. At this moment, the god beside him angrily warned Jiang Han, a proud lone wolf. Jiang Han sighed. "I understand. If I am no longer an outsider, I will face terrible punishment." Looking at the fragile Sarah in front of him, Jiang Han, who had originally planned to kill everyone and the elves, hesitated for a moment. In the end, he gave up on his plan. "If I really kill him, what would be the difference between me and these mercenaries? You are saved. Next, you should escape back on your own." But Sarah, covered in wounds, was about to get up, and then fell straight to the ground. At the critical moment, soon, Jiang Han, carrying the elf, exited the dungeon. The village was unusually quiet at this time. When Jiang Han wanted to ask the god for the reason, the god, looking displeased, signaled that he didn't want to talk to him. "All right, it seems that only sending off this elf can calm this guy's anger." The scene shifted. The two of them were now quickly moving through the forest. At this point, Sarah tugged at Jiang Han's sleeve. She gestured for Jiang Han to look at the sky. In the sky, a blazing fire phoenix flew by. Then it surprisingly landed in front of them. Sarah signaled Jiang Han to put her down. She then slowly walked towards the fire phoenix. Just when Jiang Han thought Sarah was going to leave with the fire phoenix, she suddenly turned back. While thanking Jiang Han, she walked towards him. In the next moment, the god behind them saw this scene, stunned, with his jaw almost dropping to the ground. Jiang Han, blushing, wiped his mouth. He never imagined his first kiss would be given to an elf from another world. Then, she rode the fire phoenix and waved goodbye to Jiang Han. "Jiang Han, we will definitely meet again." In the blink of an eye, the fire phoenix flew off with Sela into the distance. Gua, meanwhile, the god arrogantly sat on Jiang Han's neck and pulled his hair roughly. As Jiang Han regained his senses, he felt like what just happened was a dream. But the next second, both he and the god behind him were shocked by the popped-up status screen. In the blessings section, in addition to the F-level outsider, there was a C-level elf blessing. Even the god, who had seen it all, was stunned by this scene. Fairy tale. As a friend of the elves, your lifespan has increased. All the buffs you receive from elves will be greatly amplified. It sounds like an outsider effect. Does this mean I can use the werewolf swordsmanship to burn my life for a bigger boost? But the god behind him was clearly displeased with the elf blessing. "You seem a bit too happy about this." "The real reason I'm happy is that I got rid of that elf." Hearing this, the god immediately brightened up. Seeing things settle, Jiang Han decided to continue exploring deeper into the forest. The scene shifted. Jiang Han had killed over 1,000 werewolves along the way. During the battle, Jiang Han constantly monitored his status window, but he noticed that a new E-level curse had appeared. What was even worse was that despite gaining a massive amount of experience, he was still stuck at level 1. Of course, I knew it would be hard to level up because of that damn goddess's curse, but I didn't expect the experience to drop this severely. Thousands of level 6 werewolves experience isn't even enough for me to level up. By the way, what does this new curse mean? Butcher. The effect is that friendly races will be intimidated by your murderous aura. and their likelihood of opposing your killing actions will increase. Great, now I'm truly an outsider. At this moment, Jiang Han heard the footsteps of werewolves approaching from afar. A group of werewolves came looking to avenge their kin. He didn't expect so many werewolves to be nearby. It seemed they realized that having a numerical advantage alone wasn't enough. Each of the werewolves brought was a master of swordsmanship. The next second, the werewolves charged at him. At this moment, the sound of werewolf footsteps came from afar. A group of werewolves came over, ready to avenge their kin. I didn't expect there would be so many werewolves nearby. It seems they realized that having the advantage in numbers isn't enough. Each werewolf they brought is a master of swordsmanship. In the next moment, the werewolves charged forward. But I'm actually happy that so many swordsmanship masters have come to find me. Thanks to you all, I can now skillfully use this power. So to thank you, I'll try to make it quick. Before long, Jiang Han had already collected a large amount of gold coins. But due to the language barrier, he couldn't sell any of it. I urgently need a translator. Isn't there a werewolf who can disguise as a human and is smart enough? Just then, a man with horns on his head walked over. The level 1 guy. Have you seen any werewolves living here? Hearing this, Jiang Han's face lit up with excitement. He immediately grabbed the man by the collar. I've searched everywhere for this. I finally meet a werewolf who can speak human language. Brother, what's your name? I'm not a low-level werewolf. I'm a demon. This weakling is a demon? A demon should be a powerful humanoid creature, right? After all, that damn goddess summoned us to defeat the Demon King. Even the goddess had to ask for help. Demons must surely be powerful. The demon seemed offended. You bastard. Not all demons are powerful. You're really underestimating us. But you're just too strange. Clearly level 1. But you have incredible strength. Jiang Han responded. That's because I have the blessing of a god. You really have thick skin. You think I'm like you? Your curses are even more numerous than your blessings. You can even see my status? Of course I can. Nothing escapes my demon's eye. By the way, I've used so many paralysis. Just then, the demon was easily subdued by Jiang Han. The demon then said that he left his homeland to find true love. When you were still nursing, I was already at the age to get married. Hearing this, the god behind him immediately got excited. I've reached the age where I should get married. Upon hearing this, the god behind him immediately became excited and urged Jiang Han to ask more questions. Jiang Han looked at him expectantly. So brother, why haven't you gotten married yet? Wouldn't it be hard if you die a virgin? At that moment, an unexpected scene occurred. Jiang Han looked at the demon with sympathy, but the demon, puzzled, asked, how can you still move freely? For a moment, Jiang Han was confused. What are you talking about? It turned out that while speaking, the demon secretly used a paralysis potion. The dosage was enough to take down a group of half-orcs. But this scene reminded Jiang Han of the treacherous village chief. The demon's actions perfectly triggered Jiang Han's anger. You bastard, how do you want to die? Jiang Han, with a gloomy face, grabbed the demon's collar tightly. He slowly gathered strength in his leg. With one strong kick, he precisely kicked the demon. After a scream, Jiang Han looked at the demon in front of him. Do you have some secret connection with the village chief? I've met many village chiefs. Which one are you talking about? I'm talking about the village chief with a wolf head on his chest. When I met him, he was about to, so I saved him. As soon as the words left his mouth, Jiang Han furiously grabbed him. So you're the mastermind who almost got me killed? In no time, the demon kneeled in pain. Who exactly is the demon here? Jiang Han smiled with a more demonic grin than the demons and walked over. Do you want to keep getting beaten? Or do you want to obey me? If you don't want to die, take me to the nearest human city. The powerful saintess lives in the nearest city. I don't want to die before I get married. How about we go to the second nearest city instead? I heard that the saintess lackeys are there. Jiang Han happily agreed to the demon's suggestion. By night, Jiang Han finally remembered to ask the demon his name. It turned out he was the 348th child of the 14th Demon King's 23rd wife. His name is Kejimos. Unlike human society, where status matters, there's no distinction of high or low in hell. In conclusion, you're just a nameless little demon with nothing. Moss was instantly dejected. A friend of mine gave me the nickname Moss, but she later became the 7th wife of the Demon King. Friend of mine gave me the nickname Moss, but she later became the 7th wife of the Demon King, the Demon King's 425th wife. I didn't even get a chance to congratulate her before she had her first child. As Moss reminisced about the past with longing, Jiang Han noticed something strange. The god had always opposed him traveling with elves or humans. Yet this time, the god didn't seem to mind him traveling together with a demon. At that moment, Moss suddenly looked at the ground in alarm. A massive footprint had appeared on the earth. Moss identified it as an orc's footprint. There are orcs nearby. Looks like we're about to make it out of this forest. Comic channel watermark removed. Gazing at the vast plains ahead, Jiang Han was filled with anticipation at the thought of meeting orcs. He wondered if he could communicate with them. Hearing this, Moss reminded him that orcs are on a whole different level from the werewolves they encountered before. He also motioned for Jiang Han to look down below. A group of half-orcs were actually raising animals. At this moment, a big man exclaimed, "There's a human scent nearby." His companions responded, "Looks like we can have a good meal now." Then they noticed Jiang Han on the hillside. Moss was shocked and said, "It's all because of your eyes glowing red. They're too noticeable at night." But Jiang Han wasn't upset at all. Instead, he started counting the number of orcs below. There were a total of 10 orcs. These guys seemed quite relaxed. Then, ignoring Moss's warnings, he jumped down. Maybe we can have a good chat. However, the orcs had no intention of talking. Skinny pig, hand over your money, then surrender quietly. Jiang Han immediately responded, who are you calling a skinny pig? I'm human. The orcs looked at him in confusion. The skinny pig can even speak half-orc language. They immediately burst into laughter. Now we have a smart skinny pig who speaks half-orc. Jiang Han sighed in disappointment. Another group of wild men who can't communicate. He then gripped the dagger at his waist. Before the orcs could react, Jiang Han had already pierced one of the orcs in the chest. Now let's see who the real skinny pig is. Soon, all the surrounding half-orcs had fallen to the ground. Jiang Han asked, didn't you say half-orcs are much stronger than werewolves? Just as Jiang Han wiped the blood off, Moss suddenly began to make distressed sounds. What's going on? This looks dangerous. Moss gestured for Jiang Han to look at the sky. A dazzling white celestial dragon was flying under the blue sky. Moss explained, this is the Saintess's mount, the dragon. When it passed by here, it sensed my demonic aura and accurately launched an attack on me. Thankfully, it didn't continue to focus on whether I live or die. How unlucky. I ran into one of the only 2 Saintesses in the world. I need to rest for a while to recover my lower body. Reluctantly, Jiang Han carried Moss and continued forward. This feels worse than carrying a pile of shit. You think I want to be carried by you? If people see a demon being carried by a human, I'll never get married in this life. By the way, are you really human? I'm not only human. I almost became a hero. Moss was immediately startled. Your status window shows the hero's curse, and this is usually a curse targeting demons. When a demon loses to a hero, they receive the hero's curse. The curse makes leveling up extremely difficult, making revenge basically impossible. So how did you get so powerful? Could it be because of your outsider's blessing? I've seen countless blessings over the years, but I've never heard of this outsider's blessing. This resets all states, doesn't it? It means everything goes back to the starting point. So no matter how much experience you gain, your stats will always reset to 0. This is probably the real reason why you can't level up. But how did you become so strong? Jiang Han silently looked at the god behind him. At that moment, the god sighed. The next day, Jiang Han continued toward the city. Along the way, he eliminated a large group of half-orcs. At that moment, the sound of a horse-drawn carriage came from afar. He saw dozens of half-orcs chasing a merchant convoy. Ma spoke up. Are you going to help them? But Jiang Han, having learned from previous experiences, Mido takes you to read comics. He LR them Z. Mido takes you to read comics. Let's first take a look. At least I can avenge them in the future. I thought this would be a scene of half-orcs crushing their enemies. Mido takes you to read comics. In the next moment, a gray-haired girl walked out of the carriage. Flames erupted from her hands. She then teamed up with a nearby swordsman to launch an attack. In an instant, they arrived above the half-orcs. A loud explosion rang out at the battle site. Is this the legendary magician? Nothing. Innocent humans can survive. Aren't you happy? Jiang Han scratched his head. I was thinking it's such a pity that I missed the chance to avenge them. These people look like the elite of this world. It should be a wise choice to make good connections with them. Then, Jiang Han took a deep breath. He shouted loudly, there are many delicious humans here. Seeing this, Moss asked incredulously, what are you doing? Fortunately, only half-orcs can understand my language. Just wait and watch the fun. Then, from afar, the sound of 1,000 horses galloping could be heard. Thousands of half-orcs were rushing toward them. The surrounded humans instantly began to sweat. The gray-haired girl was also confused. What's going on? The situation on the battlefield instantly reversed. Then Jiang Han took out his dagger. Now it's my turn to take the stage. These humans seem to be doing well. Maybe I should come a little later. Looking at the strangers suddenly appearing around him, the half-orcs looked at him with confusion. What's this skinny pig up to? Jiang Han replied with a smile. I'm just passing by and taking the chance to beat you green-skinned fat pigs. A moment later, Jiang Han had taken down all the half-orcs around him. The 2 girls stood there, stunned. The soldiers in the group also expressed their gratitude. During this time, under Moss's guidance, Jiang Han also learned a few words. He could barely understand that the humans seemed to be thanking him. Reluctantly, Moss had to play the role of a translator, introducing Jiang Han to them. At this moment, the gray-haired girl asked Jiang Han, why does he have the hero's curse? That's right, he is indeed cursed by the hero. But he also has a C-class elf blessing. That's right, he is indeed cursed by the hero. But he also has a C-class elf blessing. This is a symbol of trust. You know, even if humans and elves marry, they usually only receive an E-level blessing. The gray-haired girl felt very guilty for doubting her savior. Jiang Han, however, was extremely happy. He had finally earned the trust of the natives. But seeing this, the god wasn't happy. The god started sulking behind Jiang Han. At that moment, Jiang Han said something that calmed the god, and even comforted the god. The god doesn't mock the impotent. It's not your fault. Under the outsider's blessing, all of Jiang Han's states are continuously reset, and there's only one. Just then, Jiang Han successfully blended into the human city with the group. At that moment, a man asked Jiang Han why. His level was only 1, but he was so powerful. Moss reminded Jiang Han not to pay attention to his question. Mercenaries are very thick-skinned when it comes to getting stronger, but asking others directly about how to get stronger is very impolite. And since they have the blessing of mercenaries, they often fight to complete tasks, to gain experience by force. However, this comment caught Jiang Han's attention. Complete tasks to gain experience? He then pulled up his curse panel. It only mentioned that experience gained from hunting and achievements would be greatly reduced. It didn't mention any restrictions on mercenaries gaining experience. Moss looked at Jiang Han, who was lost in thought. What are you doing? Jiang Han, smiling, responded. Quick, tell me how to become a mercenary. Soon, Moss led Jiang Han into the city. But Jiang Han looked extremely uncomfortable. Why is there such a foul, rotting smell in the air? Moss explained. Many different merchants come through here. It's normal that people can't bathe during their travels. Besides, you have no right to criticize anyone. The stench of half-orc blood on you is unbearable. If you don't want to be kicked out of the mercenary club, you'd better take a bath at an inn first. Jiang Han, in disbelief, sniffed his clothes. Does it really smell that bad? If you don't want to be kicked out of the mercenary club, you'd better take a bath at an inn first. Jiang Han, in disbelief, sniffed his clothes. Does it really smell that bad? Seeing this, even the god behind him pinched his nose. After washing up, Jiang Han headed to the mercenary club. But Jiang Han, about to become a mercenary, was sweating profusely. He never expected the hardest part would be signing his own name. Looking at the strange contract, Jiang Han didn't know where to start. I should have learned how to write my name first. The customer service representative smiled at Jiang Han, expecting him to sign quickly. Just as he was struggling with what to do, Moss comforted him, saying there's no need to be embarrassed. Many mercenaries here can't even write their names. Then, Moss kindly handed him the way to write his name. Take this and copy it. You make it sound easy, but maybe it's because of the hero's curse. In 10 minutes, Jiang Han finally signed his name. Looking at the crooked, messy characters, Moss couldn't help but laugh. Never seen such a... When Jiang Han handed over the contract, a new blessing appeared in front of him. It was the D-rank mercenary blessing. Just registered and already at the werewolf level D rank. You should thank those two ladies. They used their own reputation to guarantee your ability. At this moment, the two handed over a mission notice. It's a task to conquer the orcs. The reward depends on you. On how many orc noses you bring back. Sounds great. This time, I should be able to break the goddess curse. Just now, Jiang Han received his first mercenary. Then, he and his two teammates arrived at the half-orc territory. 2.5 hours later, the two teammates were already exhausted, panting. But Jiang Han was still going strong, fighting fiercely. Looking at the tireless Jiang Han, the two decided not to hold Jiang Han back, and continued fighting. After another 2.5 hours, the teammates were shaking from exhaustion. But Jiang Han was still madly killing half-orcs. Finally, the silver-haired girl couldn't help but shout, "Let's take a break." Honestly speaking, you've already wiped out all the half-orcs in this area. But Jiang Han hasn't broken a sweat. Mr. Jiang Han is indeed remarkable. He has an indescribable talent. Leisha, since you're a mage, you might not notice, but his swordsmanship is full of madness. The sword techniques he uses are extremely dangerous. If he makes even a small mistake, he could destroy his entire body. But he continues to use this style of swordsmanship. At this moment, Jiang Han suddenly took out a children's picture book and started learning word by word. For some reason, his pronunciation was only accurate for certain phrases. While the two were discussing, Jiang Han roughly finished reading the book. Then he turned to the two and said with the words he learned, "Brothers, you should be well rested now. Let's continue fighting." Leisha and her companion fell silent. Wasn't it just a short break? The scene shifts. The saintess appears in the goddess's temple. A subordinate reports, "We found this backpack in the wild." Looking at the stationery and books on the table, the saintess concludes, "These items definitely aren't from this world." The subordinate continues, "It was found in the werewolf forest where the heroes train. Until now, only the commander and I knew about the bag. How likely is it that the commander reported it to the prince? As soon as I discovered the item, the commander ordered me to report to you immediately. Well done. I guarantee you'll serve the gods here for life." The guard looks conflicted. "Aren't I supposed to follow the general into battle? Do you want to spend your life here? Or die an honorable death?" The guard immediately replies, "I am willing to serve the gods for life." The saintess then picks up the name badge. "I want all the information on this person within 3 days." The guard gives a firm response. Next, a report arrives from the forest of a major murder case in the hunter's village. According to the villagers, the killer was the spirit of a deceased outsider. Outsider? You mean this might be the work of a hero from another world? So it's not a vengeful spirit. On the contrary, he survived and took revenge. Send someone to draw a sketch of the outsider now. The scene changes. Jiang Han, exhausted from the day, is grilling meat. Suddenly, dense footsteps come from the grass nearby. He quickly wakes his sleeping teammates. A group of mercenaries steps out from the bushes. "Hand over all the loot from the beastmen you killed. Come quietly and surrender." Jiang Han, with only broken knowledge of the other world's language, is confused. What is this guy saying? But the arrogant gestures and expression are clear enough. This bastard is just asking for it. Ever since I was summoned to this world, I haven't had a single normal day. Beside him, Moss is shaken by Jiang Han's surging rage. Hope you bastards get a better reincarnation next life. Jiang Han took a deep breath, repeating his old trick, then shouted in Beastman language. There's lots of tasty food here. Seeing this bizarre scene, the enemy immediately launched an attack. But to battle-hardened Jiang Han, these arrows were nothing. He quickly kicked straight at the leader. Just as the small guy behind him froze in terror, a giant green hand grabbed his head. A group of burly beastmen appeared behind them, and immediately began crushing the mercenaries. Watching the two enemy groups fight each other, it's finally my time to shine. Jiang Han navigated the battlefield with ease, but their leader actually stood back up, clutching his wound. Jiang Han greeted him with a cheerful smile. Then the man rallied his underlings to surround Jiang Han. Just as Jiang Han prepared to counterattack, the leader somehow snuck behind him and slashed at him while he wasn't looking, grinning as if his plot had succeeded. Jiang Han, however, didn't budge an inch. You actually ruined my favorite cloak. He then struck with a black tiger heart-piercing blow, straight through the man's chest. Silence fell across the battlefield. The scene shifts. Jiang Han returns to the mercenary club, with a bag full of beastman noses. Everyone around him wears a look of disbelief. But Jiang Han just looks regretful. If it weren't for these two ladies, I'd have gotten more. Moss is speechless. Are you even human? They were about to collapse, and you say that. Jiang Han then handed the mission proof to the two ladies. They happily accepted it. Thanks to you, I leveled up twice from this special hunt. Even Moss, who was already level 20, leveled up once. Jiang Han was excited hearing that. Even such a mediocre demon leveled up. I must have gone up a lot too. But Jiang Han's eyes widened in shock. Looking at his status panel, he was still at level 1. Jiang Han stared up at the sky in despair. What kind of world is this? Meanwhile, the goddess behind him pretended to know nothing and gazed into the distance. It was as if Jiang Han had discovered her secret. She was a deity born before the origin of all things. Life on the continent quickly discovered the existence of gods. They began praying to the gods, hoping for their help. The gods, by helping the beings, realized the meaning of their existence. However, as time passed, more and more gods appeared. Evil god. They helped the beings in their own ways, and even started to compete. Depending on the type of divine blessing received, beings began evolving in different ways. Then, due to territorial and faith issues, endless conflicts began to arise. Countless lives were tragically lost in this war. One day, a soldier was about to face death because of the war. Suddenly, a divine reminder appeared in front of him. Do you want to live? The soldier immediately gave a definite answer. Who wouldn't want to live? The god immediately acted and restored all his status. In the next moment, the soldier transformed into a baby. The god looked at the crying baby and pondered for a moment, then turned and left. She approached and asked them to go to the western cave, just as the soldier had initially requested. The god saved him. The god felt very content with this result. 10 years later, the god came to visit the man she had once saved. The boy immediately asked her, "Are you the god who saved me?" The god happily confirmed. But the boy started shaking uncontrollably, then began cursing loudly. "I don't want you, god, because you turned me into a baby. My lover was taken by someone else." The god was startled, but at the time, you only asked to survive. The god expressed regret about this, but the boy still wouldn't stop, demanding the god take responsibility for his life. The god had no choice but to leave amid the boy's curses. Along the way, the god thought about what she might have done wrong, but she still couldn't understand what went wrong. Later, the god helped several beings, but without exception, the god received insults. She never understood why this happened. So, the god tiredly came to the edge of the world, and sat there, motionless, for hundreds of years. Meanwhile, the outside world was rapidly changing. More and more beings began to see gods as tools. Because of this, the gods gathered to create new rules. The world would now be governed by levels, blessings, curses, and more. All gods adapted to the new rules, except her. One day, she found a soldier on the brink of death again. After a moment of hesitation, the god asked if he wanted to live. The man instantly expressed his will to survive, not wanting to repeat past mistakes. The god warned him, "You will lose everything." The man replied without hesitation, "That's still better than dying." Hearing that, the god smiled for the first time in ages, as she blessed the soldier. She thought, this world still needed her. The healed soldier felt the joy of being alive again. But the next moment, his expression froze. He had dropped from level 38 to level 1. The god reminded him, "I told you there'd be a price." The man quickly regained his composure. "As long as I'm alive, I can start again from level 1. The god admired his spirit, but soon, he sank into true despair. No matter how much he teamed up or grinded monsters, his level remained at 1. His teammates, even his girlfriend, all left him. The god silently watched it all unfold. The man was a rational person. He never blamed or resented the god. Instead, he gave her some advice. Don't bless anyone ever again. This is a curse even worse than death. Those words completely extinguished her will to save others. Feeling unwanted, the god fell into silent slumber. Until one day, she saw again a young boy on the verge of death. Seeing that the boy bore the hero's curse, her curiosity drove her to help him. She even changed the name of the blessing. But if he ever found out the truth, he would surely resent me. And now, the god felt Jiang Han must have discovered the secret of the blessing. As she braced for Jiang Han's accusation, Jiang Han instead muttered, as if enlightened. The description was clear. Resets, all states. I can't believe I wasted so much time grinding XP. Seeing this, the god curiously asked Jiang Han if he was angry. Jiang Han turned and replied, I should have known this result. Let's go. The god silently began to pray. Jiang Han's face darkened. Are you praying for the soul I lost? The god frowned. Of course not. It's a secret I cannot tell. The scene shifts. Jiang Han arrived at the largest library in the area. I at least need to find a legendary weapon to boost my combat power. Moss beside him advised him not to dream. Such items were confiscated long ago by the authorities. Even the previous tribe girl said she had never seen such items. But Jiang Han still wasn't giving up. Could there be a very dangerous artifact that excavation teams can't access? Doesn't that sound tempting? However, Moss' words extinguished his enthusiasm again. The entrances to such ruins are usually guarded by high-level knights from the country. High-level knights? How high-level? Moss responded, they are definitely much stronger than you. Soon, Jiang Han arrived at the grasslands to continue his exploration, hoping that the fresh air outside would give him new ideas. Those knights are just metal cans. They just bluff. Is there really no way besides killing knights? At that moment, the voice of a half-orc came from behind. Skinny pig, hand over all your belongings. You green-skinned fatty, you have to bother me when I'm about to cry. Hearing this, the half-orc became furious and swung a 10-meter-long greatsword towards him. But Jiang Han delivered a black tiger strike's heart, heavily injuring him, then sat on the green-skinned fatty's chest. Do you know what it feels like when a person's world collapses? While beating him, he said, isn't there a ruin that hasn't been discovered? At this moment, the half-orc hurriedly replied, I know of an unknown ruin. Jiang Han immediately stopped his punches. Don't hit me. I really know of a ruin. Not far ahead lay a massive beastman ruin. Jiang Han looked at the beastman with doubt in his eyes. Then he extended his hand in a friendly gesture. Friend, I think you'd be happy to tell me more about this ruin. The beastman happily gave Jiang Han a positive response, then led Jiang Han toward the ruins. I can show the way, but powerful humans like you can't enter. The ruins are right ahead. But all Jiang Han saw was an endless plain. There was no trace of any ruin. Just then, an ancient ruin shrouded in mist slowly appeared before his eyes. As the beastman thought he had finally shaken off his annoyance, Jiang Han marveled behind him. I've never seen such a massive city before. The beastman was so shocked his eyes nearly popped out. This is a sacred land of the beastmen. Only those below level may 9th enter. Hearing that, Jiang Han awkwardly scratched his head. Maybe it's because I'm only level 1. As soon as he said that, countless arrows shot toward him from the ruins. Hundreds of strong beastmen emerged from within. They mistook Jiang Han for a weak level 1 target, perfect for a snack. Before the white-haired beastman could warn them, Jiang Han had already taken him out. Let's see who the real weakling is now. He then dashed straight into the beastman horde. The scene shifts. A group of beastmen are searching for the intruder. That damn skinny pig. We must avenge our fallen brothers. They rushed toward a suspicious spot. Hiding behind them, Jiang Han looked utterly exhausted. There sure are a lot of beastmen here. I've been fighting since dawn. And they just keep coming. Why does it feel like I've been running in circles? I think I'm lost. Just then, 2 beastmen spotted Jiang Han from over a wall, and a large group swarmed in his direction. Seeing the relentless horde charging at him, Jiang Han finally snapped. You damn bastards are seriously disgusting. You guys are really disgusting. Now it's my turn to perform. The green-skinned fatty blocking the entrance immediately stopped. What's this skinny pig going to do? Suddenly, a loud crashing sound was heard. Then Jiang Han sat on top of the orc's massive body. He then brought up the status panel, hoping for any new changes, and saw a new curse, D-rank. The souls of the slain will continue appearing in your dreams, until the souls depart or surrender. These half-orcs really are relentless. Good thing I don't need sleep. But why are my curses multiplying? At that moment, 2 humans walked past him. They were being held captive here. However, Jiang Han's limited foreign language skills couldn't understand what they were saying. Next, I need to figure out how to find the exit of this ruin. So he turned his gaze towards the half-orc, who wasn't quite dead yet. Why? No matter how far I go, do I always end up back at the same place? The entrance and exit of this city are quite strange. The city center is the only exit. I see. No wonder I keep going in circles. He then headed toward the city center. Soon, he arrived at the so-called city center. But why is it so empty here? Could it be that I need to use some spell to open the portal? As soon as the words left his mouth, a brilliant light appeared on the altar in the middle. A burly half-orc appeared. He immediately shouted, "You're the human who slaughtered my tribe." Real, coming in so flamboyantly. Really, and looks tough. At this moment, the guardian spoke with a harsh tone and repeated his question. Yes, it's me. I warned these half-orcs, asked. But they didn't listen 1-2 move. And they didn't. Is that your only reason for slaughtering 300,000 half-orcs? Upon hearing this, Jiang Han suddenly understood. So it was 300,000 half-orcs. No wonder it took me so long. I'm the guardian of this ruin. I won't let any human leave here. You say you're a guardian. As he spoke, Jiang Han started to remove his backpack. Then he showed an incredibly excited expression. A guardian usually means I get to kill you. You can get a ton of treasure from this. With that, he charged at the guardian. Jiang Han poured all his energy into this single strike and faced off head-on against the Beastman guardian. Jiang Han could clearly feel this one's level far surpassed normal beastmen. Very soon, he began to feel his strength fading. The next second, his arm, along with his head, was sliced off. Everything should have ended. Then came a massive burst of energy straight at Jiang Han. Just as he was about to completely collapse, Jiang Han suddenly blinked back to his original spot. Even the guardian was shocked by the maneuver. You dodged that fatal blow in an instant, losing only an eye and an arm. With that, he prepared to end Jiang Han with a single fatal strike. But the next moment left the guardian stunned. Jiang Han's eye and arm had regrown, all thanks to the blessing of the god. The Beastman guardian stared at Jiang Han in disbelief. Are you immortal? So that's what gave you the nerve to barge into our sacred ruin alone. But it doesn't matter. I'll trap you here until you grow old and die. Hearing that, Jiang Han was speechless. Does this guy have nothing better to do? The scene shifts. The two battled for 300 rounds, staring at Jiang Han rising again and again from the dust. How long are you going to keep struggling? You're asking me how long? Obviously until I beat the crap out of you, you green-skinned pig. The two clashed fiercely once more. As expected, Jiang Han was sent flying again. This time, after being defeated, he didn't charge back in. Instead, he sat in the dirt, studying his enemy's moves, hoping to find a weakness. Before he knew it, morning had arrived. Staring at his overnight scribbles in the dirt, Jiang Han fell into deep thought. I think I've figured something out. He then narrowed his eyes in focus and gripped his dagger tightly. Then, as if possessed by the guardian from the day before, Jiang Han unleashed the exact same technique. The god watching was so shocked, she covered her mouth. This is what I learned after training all day yesterday. You think it can beat the guardian? Hearing that, even the god was stunned. You're seriously that crazy? Took so many beatings. But secretly watching his sword technique paid off after all. Just then, Jiang Han's status window popped up automatically. His tireless training had finally paid off. His F-rank outsider's blessing had upgraded to E-rank. Jiang Han excitedly started flattering the god. But in the next moment, his face twisted like he'd eaten expired tofu. His E-rank hero's curse had also upgraded to C-rank. My hero's curse leveling up can only mean one thing. The goddess has noticed me. She knows I'm still alive. Looks like we need to hurry up and take down that Beastman guardian. Soon, Jiang Han returned to the city center. Back to die again, human? Or are you here to run away in fear? This time, I'm not running. In that case, come on up then. I'll give you a tour of the relic. As Jiang Han climbed, did you set a trap up there or something? You think a glorious warrior like me would need traps to defeat you? Jiang Han paused to think. This guy can't leave the ruins, so he's trying to lure me inside to kill me. Sounds perfect to me. He followed the guardian inside. The guardian spoke slowly. This place used to be a hero training ground for training Beastman heroes. Beastmen as a species weren't chosen by the gods, so we have no heroes. But after the humans left this place, we took over. They left behind sacred relics of blessing. With that, the guardian wildly swung his weapon. This place will soon be your grave. Jiang Han interrupted him. Hold on, I have one question. What is it? After the humans left, did they leave behind any legendary weapons? Is there a weapon of this level here? Deep in the ruins, there's a blessed weapon prepared for rookie heroes. Jiang Han was instantly stunned. Am I supposed to use a beginner's weapon when fighting the goddess? I can already tell that with my level 1. Along with a beginner's weapon, I'll end up like this. Enough of that. Now it's time for me to avenge my half-orc comrades. The two immediately started their face-off. While fighting, Jiang Han started running toward the exit. Seeing this, the guardian immediately intensified the attack. The trident swung fiercely toward Jiang Han. Jiang Han seized the opportunity and caught the flaw. Since you can't leave the ruins, I'll send you on your way. With a strong push, the guardian flew straight toward the ruins portal and ultimately vanished into the ruins. This scene was directly witnessed by the god. Jiang Han had taken advantage of the situation and acted innocent. If only we could have solved this peacefully. Now, it's time to look for the treasure here. At this moment, the god excitedly pointed toward the distant ruins. You're saying there's treasure in that direction? The man, with only level 1, effortlessly lifted the legendary holy sword. But in the next second, the holy sword became unbearably heavy. Because the holy sword sensed that he was a cursed hero. Furious, Jiang Han directly smashed the holy sword with a punch. Following the principle of destroy what you can't have, Jiang Han threw all the holy swords, then proceeded to break those holy swords that didn't recognize him, leaving a pile of shattered legendary holy items. Just as Jiang Han was about to break the holy sword in his hand, he found that swinging this sword was effortless. The god reminded Jiang Han that this must be a defective product. That's why it didn't sense the hero's curse on you. Hearing this, Jiang Han thought for a moment, then proceeded to destroy the remaining holy swords. Now this one in my hand is the only one left. So it's no longer a defective product, right? This move left the god dumbfounded. In less than a second, Zhang Han's status window appeared again, and in the curse section, it showed. Furious, Zhang Han almost tore apart the status window. I can't believe that just because I broke a few swords, I've been cursed again. The creator's blood and tears will make all the holy swords around you even more powerful, destroying or sealing an innocent holy sword will become significantly harder. That actually sounds like a decent curse. So does that mean even this defective holy sword also benefits from that effect? The god silently shook her head. She pitied the sword's creator. This sword would become the strongest relic. With that, Zhang Han prepared to leave the Beastman ruins. As he pondered how to open the portal to exit, a furious roar came from behind. The guardian suddenly appeared out of nowhere and charged straight toward the altar. But Zhang Han noticed something different. Several of the Beastman's front teeth were missing. His expression also looked much older. Zhang Han raised both hands, blocking the altar entrance. Leave the relic's domain now. But the guardian quickly reached him anyway. Time to test this holy sword for real. This time, the guardian was the one struck down. Blood gushed from his left arm instantly. Looks like it's your turn to lose an arm. The guardian quickly used his regeneration to heal himself. Zhang Han didn't give him a chance to breathe, and slashed again. This time, he chopped off the guardian's entire head. Only a headless body remained. A whole day passed, and you still haven't improved? Guess your regeneration isn't that impressive after all. Just then, the guardian's head suddenly began growing back rapidly. He was seconds away from full recovery. Zhang Han grabbed his head. If I throw him out of here, maybe he'll die for good. With that, he prepared to toss the guardian out of the altar. But in the next second, the guardian burst into tears. Please don't throw me out of the altar. I'll do anything for you. Anything. And what exactly can you do for me? I can temporarily move the ruin's entrance and exit closer to the holy sword. Zhang Han thought for a moment, then agreed with a grin. He decided to spare the guardian's life for now. He then pointed outside the altar. Let those humans who wandered in here go free. The guardian reluctantly agreed to Zhang Han's order. Although this ruin must never be discovered by humans, I have no choice now. So Zhang Han shouted to the villagers. Anyone who wants to leave, come quickly. But the villagers began to hesitate. In the end, only 3 villagers chose to leave the ruin. Zhang Han let out a sigh. These guys have stayed so long. They actually love this place now. Soon, the guardian opened the portal out of the ruins. Zhang Han suddenly recalled some bad memories. He couldn't help but question whether the other side of the portal was dangerous. Wusu quickly flattered the god. Please bless your most loyal believer. For such sincerity, I'll go in and check it for you. She confirmed that it was safe on the other side. Before leaving, Zhang Han asked, how do I return here? Just speak to the holy sword. I will hear your command. After confirming it multiple times with the god, Zhang Han finally relaxed and approached the portal. The moment he touched it, a brilliant flash of light appeared. Zhang Han appeared in a completely unfamiliar room. Thank the heavens. At least it's not the heart of a dragon, or the depths of the earth. But where exactly am I? It looked like a noble's chamber. Then, Zhang Han noticed the weapons on the wall. He instantly took a battle stance and questioned the god. Didn't you say this place was safe? The god replied, it is safe for now. So you're saying it'll be dangerous later? The god praised Zhang Han's excellent comprehension. Then I better get out of here quickly. But the next scene made Zhang Han freeze. In the corner, he saw his own backpack. Meanwhile, the saintess descended into the dungeon in search of Zhang Han. But the villagers had already cleaned up the place. There was no trace that hundreds of elves had once been imprisoned there. The new village chief instantly knelt down, begging for forgiveness. Although the conflict caused between humans and elves was inexcusable, since the victims had already forgiven it. I will no longer hold you accountable. However, what did the man who rescued the elves look like? I wish to reward him for his actions. Upon hearing this, the village chief quickly replied, that person looks very similar to the heroes who visited today. Hearing this, the saintess casually came up with a reason to dismiss the village chief. This person must be the hero who was cursed by the goddess. But how did he survive? Could he have received the blessing of the gods? Even so, how could a level 1 rookie possibly defeat a horde of werewolves? You should know that even our carefully trained heroes suffer heavy casualties when facing werewolves. Who would even bless him? All the gods live with us in the temple. If the man and the owner of the bag are the same person, it would be a disaster if the heroes found out. The saintess smiled slightly. For now, the heroes are still under our control. The god worshipped by the saintess also felt the urgency. Don't worry, our secret won't be discovered so quickly. Everyone who knew Zhang Han's name is already dead. The scene shifts. Zhang Han had already returned to the inn. That damn half-orc really wanted to beat him up, sending me to such a dangerous place. The noise caught the attention of Moss. You came back just in time. I was planning to leave here yesterday, but unfortunately, a powerful human has arrived in the city. I can't make a move for now. You're not talking about the saintess, are you? Not the saintess. It's the knight from the kingdom of knights, Alphys. He's the #1 knight in this country. Zhang Han remained unfazed as he continued, packing his belongings. Someone told me the prince is looking for you. Looking for me? What for? Zhang Han continued undressing as he spoke. Moss, gritting his teeth, said, if you meet him, you can't reveal any information about me, Because the prince is a knight blessed by the saintess. If he finds out I'm a demon, it'll be bad. This doesn't seem to have anything to do with me. Besides, I can't even communicate with him properly. At that moment, a hurried knock sounded at the door. It was the two noble girls Jiang Han had saved earlier. I didn't tell them to come. Looks like your power is really popular with the ladies. The god immediately looked displeased. Jiang Han quickly explained. They're definitely here to ask for help. You're so materialistic. At this rate, you'll never get married. You're a lifelong single dog. Are you really qualified to say that? Moss immediately covered her eyes and quietly sobbed. Then Moss noticed Jiang Han after several days. Even his hero's curse had evolved from E rank to C rank. Did you kill a bunch of heroes or something? If I keep hanging out with you, I might die before I ever get married. Jiang Han got worked up. What the hell do you mean by that? If you leave, who's gonna translate for me? You could just buy a twin-lingual translator. The two girls beside them couldn't take it anymore and chimed in. How about we talk while shopping outside? After all, Yuko is looking for you. You'll probably need a new outfit. With no choice, Jiang Han followed the two into the streets. The scene shifts. The girls looked excitedly at Jiang Han. Jiang Han, looking shiny and polished, appeared before everyone. This feels so damn uncomfortable. What the hell did those women do to me? Then they brought him to the prince's residence. The prince greeted Jiang Han politely upon arrival. You can actually understand me? It's a language blessing. As a prince, I must be able to communicate with all races. Thank you for hunting the beastmen troubling our nation and rescuing those two ladies. We are truly grateful. But what the prince said next stunned Jiang Han. I'm curious. When you fought those beastmen, what skill did you use? Would you mind having a duel with me? Jiang Han looked awkward, unsure how to respond. The prince realized he may have been rude, so he ordered his servants to prepare a grand feast. Let's talk more over dinner. Soon, Jiang Han devoured 10 whole plates of grilled meat. Sorry, I haven't eaten all day. Got a bit carried away. The prince smiled politely. Better to finish it than let it go to waste. Then the topic shifted. Mr. Jiang, how did you get the hero's curse? You might not believe it, but it was because I punished a hero who harassed elves. Do you still remember what that hero looked like? Jiang Han gave an awkward laugh. I punched his face at... I don't really remember what he looked like. I see. Thank you for your contribution to the friendship between humans and elves. To be honest, the real reason I invited you today is because the guild reported that you've recently hunted a huge number of beastmen. Lately, beastmen on the plains have almost completely disappeared. It's like they vanished into thin air. Do you have any idea why? It might be because I killed too many of them, but the prince didn't believe that. If what you said were true, then I could have wiped out the beastmen myself. Scene shifts. They arrived at the royal courtyard. I can't wait to see how powerful you really are. Jiang Han reluctantly drew his usual dagger, but the prince was immediately shocked. Isn't that an elven relic? Jiang Han quickly pulled it back. Maybe we shouldn't use weapons for this duel. He then raised his index finger. I'll fight you using only this finger. Everyone around was visibly stunned. The prince also responded with a similar move. This is a skill I learned through hardship, but I still want to see your full strength. Take this great sword and use it for the fight. The prince proudly raised his weapon. You may strike first. Jiang Han was eager to go. This is the kingdom's #1 sword saint. If I don't give it my all now, he slowly raised the great sword. Jiang Han's aura surged wildly, kicking up a wave of energy. I'm making my move. With that, he swung and released the power. A massive red pillar of energy shot up from the courtyard, visible for miles. Holy crap, I was too forceful. What if the prince dies? It'll be a disaster. He then turned and looked toward the exit. Without thinking, he forcefully opened the door and ran straight into the forest. The prince, who had taken the full impact, slowly emerged from the smoke and dust. Looking at the broken sword in his hand, the prince couldn't help but question his life. Have I really been practicing for all these years? Meanwhile, the saintess returned to her room. Seeing the dirty footprints on the floor, she immediately realized someone had broken into her bedroom. But what shocked her even more was that the backpack in the corner had been stolen. The evidence that could prove the goddess lied was gone. She hurriedly reported this big news to the goddess. You should have destroyed it earlier. The saintess was also a bit angry. Please don't doubt my faith in you. Now all we can do is wait for the goddess' orders. The goddess immediately asked if there was any way to find it. Rather than asking me here, why don't you look for it yourself? The goddess's face darkened as she left the room. Just then, Jiang Han mistakenly thought he had killed the prince. He hurriedly returned to pack his belongings and prepare to flee. He then ordered the holy sword to open the portal. Moss, behind him, was shocked. When did you learn space magic? No time to explain. We'll meet at the north gate of the city. I can't wait too long for you. Hurry up. Leaving Moss, who was too high level, grinding his teeth in frustration. The scene shifts. Moss was trembling in the small forest north of the city. At that moment, Jiang Han suddenly appeared behind him. Let's go quickly. But we need to think about where to go next. We can keep heading north. This way, we can split up sooner. To the north, there's the largest twin Kong market in the western continent. I'll find you a translator there. Then why didn't you just escape and join me? It's because you bastard took everything from me. How am I supposed to escape now? How am I supposed to slip away like this? We didn't even buy horses for the trip, and now we're rushing off. The knights will catch up to us in no time. Right as she finished speaking, Jiang Han suddenly scooped up Moss. Moss's face turned beet red. What are you trying to do? Put me down. Jiang Han shouted back while running. Isn't this way faster than riding a horse? And so he ran all the way until the next morning. Moss's stomach started growling loudly. Helpless. Jiang Han gave a command to the holy sword. The next second, food and a dining table emerged from the portal. Moss ate the food in stunned silence. After finishing, Jiang Han simply returned the plates to the portal. It's not as tasty as eating with Zico, but not bad either. Moss finally couldn't help but ask, how come I've never heard of magic? For cooking and dishwashing? Jiang Han stretched lazily. There's still plenty you haven't heard of. Let's get going now that we're full. Stop rushing me. We're almost there anyway. Then why didn't you say so earlier? If I knew, we could have waited to eat in the city. Soon, the two of them arrived in the city. This is pretty. This city is actually pretty big. Moss quit gawking like a country bumpkin. Hurry up and follow me. And give me my backpack back while you're at it. I'm not running off yet. Once you find me a twinlingual translator, you'll disappear. Jiang Han then turned to the holy sword. Bring me the brown backpack from the back. A brown backpack immediately popped out of the portal. Moss stared at the holy sword in awe. You really don't look like someone who can use magic. Is this a magic sword? She took it from Jiang Han's hand, curious to study it. But no matter how you look at it, it just seems like a regular metal sword. The holy light fried Dian to a crisp, inside and out. Moss couldn't help but curse loudly. Are you freaking kidding me? That's a holy sword. You actually gave a holy sword to a demon. No wonder you handed it to me so casually. That reminds me, how can a cursed hero like you even wield a holy item? Because this holy item is defective. Hearing that, Moss suddenly, I get it now. This sword is flawed, just like its owner. Jiang Han immediately drew the holy sword and threatened Moss. Say that again if you dare. Scene change. Jiang Han followed Moss to the high-end slave market. Moss got straight to the point. We need a slave who can translate. The proprietress looked puzzled. You don't care about level, talent, or race? Jiang Han whispered to Moss. Preferably a slave who can travel with me. Are you serious? You think such a perfect slave exists? Then she translated Jiang Han's request to the proprietress. Unexpectedly, the proprietress cheerfully confirmed it was possible. She then led them upstairs to make a selection. There, a demon with horns on her head slowly stepped forward in front of the two. Moss immediately blushed slightly. It's rare to see a demon serving as a human slave. Jiang Han looked at Moss knowingly. You bought someone just like yourself. Is it because only a demon could meet all those requirements? Moss, fuming, said he wanted to buy the slave, but he couldn't find enough money in his pockets. The topic shifted. Jiang Han asked the demon why she became a slave. Because I loved someone too much. But he doubted the sincerity of my love. So I became his slave to prove it. So in the end, he abandoned you. A classic tragic love story indeed. Moss was moved to tears by her story. Jiang Han watched Moss cry with a deadpan expression. Master, please get rid of that disgusting creep staring at me. I want to rip those eyes right out of their sockets. Jiang Han ignored her joke. We're ready to go. The demon slave asked curiously. Aren't you going to double check before leaving? I've already seen your status window. Well, it's no need to double check anymore. Demon Deloka, level 27, has a D-rank twinlingual blessing. Suddenly, Deloka's whole body began to tremble. Seeing this, Jiang Han quickly asked what was going on. Deloka blushed and looked up excitedly. She eagerly asked Jiang Han to use her as he pleased because she bore the twinlingual blessing. Anytime she disobeyed her master's orders, she would feel a corresponding pain. At that moment, Moss grew displeased. If you tell her to do anything weird, I'll kill you. Jiang Han and the others shot her a look of disdain, as if she were some creepy pervert. Master, please order me to kill that disgusting demon. Jiang Han quietly turned around. Do whatever you want. Just don't kill her. Scene shifts. Jiang Han went shopping on the streets, buying tons of supplies, and used the portal to send all of them back to the ruins. At that moment, just as they were about to part ways, Moss stepped in front of Jiang Han. I've changed my mind. I've decided to go on the adventure with you. Just as she said that, an arrow shot straight into Moss's head. She collapsed to the ground with a thud. Another arrow followed, but Jiang Han and his party blocked it with ease. Someone actually launched a sneak. Jiang Han quickly tracked down the attacker and gave him a beating. Looking around, Jiang Han saw more and more people gathering to watch. City guards arrived soon after. To avoid unnecessary conflict, Jiang Han decided to leave the area with Deloka and Moss. Scene shifts. Outside the city, Jiang Han dropped off the unconscious Moss. Moss stood up and pulled the arrow out herself. I wasn't being careless. I just let my guard down for a second and got ambushed. You mean you've been living totally defenseless this whole time? What a total weakling. Being mocked like that by the demon she liked. Moss instantly felt the pain of a heart attack. Jiang Han was about to take off his bloodied clothes, when suddenly, he was attacked by D. Kuroya. Does my master look that easy to deal with? In response, D. Kuroya unleashed her. Jiang Han had no choice but to gather his strength and use werewolf swordsmanship. He then engaged D. Kar in a fierce duel. D. Kar looked in shock at her broken hand. Jiang Han seemed very satisfied with the outcome of the fight. D. Kar, in disbelief, asked Jiang Han, is your level really only level 1? What if I'm not level 1? What's it to you? Are you going to find an excuse like Moss did, saying you were careless for a moment? As soon as the words left his mouth, Dekar charged at him again. She still thought he was just a weak human. Since that's the case, let me show you the true strength of your master. Saying this, Jonghan charged straight toward Dekar. Look at my Pegasus Meteor Fist. He then exerted all his strength and threw his final punch. But this powerful strike was easily dodged by Dekar. Master, looks like you're too weak for me. Jonghan showed an awkward expression. Then Dekar's palm slashed across his chest. Blood immediately spurted out. Dekar laughed triumphantly. This small wound is nothing for a demon. Now, my master, if you give me freedom, I'll heal you immediately. But Jonghan nonchalantly gave the order. Stay right where you are? The next scene completely shocked Dekar. Jonghan's wound actually healed, at a visible rate. Are you really human? Saying this, Dekar grew a new arm. Since we both have strong regenerative abilities, let's see who can survive until the end. Is this also your command? Master, at this moment, the sycophant Moss woke up, shouting loudly. Dekar, don't hurt him. I'll protect you. Upon hearing this, Jonghan and Dekar both looked at him unfavorably, and Moss continued to fawn over Dekar, saying how long he had been with her. He had already figured out his opponent's combat weakness. Before he could finish his sentence, Jonghan's uppercut had already pierced his skull. Didn't you say you knew me well? Then how didn't you see that coming? Even Daika couldn't stand that bastard Moss anymore. While battling Daika, Jonghan said, Moss just wanted a better life. But I hate traitors most. And yet, didn't you betray me? Even though I'm a twin-lingual, I never swore to become your twin-lingual. Then the two clashed again with full force. As time passed, Daika's regeneration was starting to fall behind the speed of her injuries. What the hell is this guy made of? Jonghan looked exhilarated. Finally, a worthy opponent. The next second, Daika sprouted a pair of wings. Jonghan assumed she was trying to fly away and rushed to punch her down. But instead, Daika landed on Jonghan's shoulders and gripped tightly, then suddenly launched skyward with full force. Ever heard of an aerial dropkick technique? She aimed her leg like a sword and plummeted. Jonghan raised his palm to block the blow, but what he saw next made his face flush red instantly. The next moment, a heavy blow struck his head. Before losing consciousness, he only heard the words white panties. When he woke up again, Jonghan touched his head and recalled the battle that had just occurred. The god behind him began to scold loudly. What were you doing just now at the critical moment? At this time, Daika, dressed in tattered clothes, walked over. You should buy me new clothes, right? Master. Jonghan unwillingly refused her request. Big Dog Moses immediately excitedly stated that he would buy Daika a new outfit. Daika punched Moses. It is the master's duty to provide food, shelter, and clothes for their subordinates. Jonghan had no choice but to summon the holy sword. He took a new set of clothes from the portal. After changing into the new clothes, Daika finally realized the truth. From the moment, I didn't win with overwhelming advantage. I lost. And at the end, you clearly lost on purpose. So, as the loser, don't you have anything to show for it? The next moment, Daika tightly hugged Jonghan. I will give you appropriate compensation. Because of you, I am very tired and need to rest. The rest is up to you. Not long ago, the Saintess discovered her room had been intruded. So, she invited Sarah to help investigate, and the room they were in turned out to be the crime scene. Sarah then activated the slime in her hand. The next moment, the entire room lit up brightly. The Saintess eagerly asked where the culprit had gone. According to the slime's trace, it turns out the intruder escaped using the holy sword. This is indeed the worst possible outcome. The culprit turned out to be a hero. Thank you for your help. The Saintess thanked Sarah politely and asked if she needed help. I'm planning to go to the Magic Academy for study. Ever since the dungeon incident, I've wanted to level up. But during the hunting process, Sarah realized that she still couldn't accept leveling up through killing, because she despised fighting greatly. This also led to the fact that, although she had lived for thousands of years, she was only level 12. Working at the academy also gives experience. This is the best option for her. So, the Saintess happily agreed to Sarah's request. At the same time, Jonghan carried the sleeping Daika back into the city. Moss the vegetable dog chose to leave them and face danger alone in the forest, leaving only one line. When I return, I will definitely become a powerful demon worthy of Miss Daika. Shin looked at Jonghan smiling as he carried the female demon on his back, clenching her fists tightly, gritting her teeth, and advising Jonghan to dump the demon. Jonghan had to comfort her. It's just like our translators swap genders, that's all. Shin was clearly dissatisfied with this lame excuse. In the end, she flew off angrily and temporarily left Jonghan. Jonghan stayed behind, looking around, trying to track Shin's whereabouts. Elsewhere, Shin appeared at the Saintess training grounds. She focused intently on their training plans. The tournament champion would get a chance to apply to the Magic Academy and obtain a powerful holy sword. Shin imagined life at the Magic Academy and happily decided to arrange for Jonghan to study there as well. Scene changes. Jonghan tossed Daika onto the bed at an inn with a flick of his hand. He looked at the sleeping Daika, then turned and opened his status panel to study it. My outsider's blessing is still active, so Shin probably hasn't abandoned me. Then he opened the window. Nighttime is the perfect moment for those thieving scum to act. Before leaving the city, I have to settle this score. You're back just in time. How about we go take care of something big together? Shin asked where he was going. Of course, to pay a visit to those bastards who ambushed us. But Shin asked if he had thought about what to do after that. Then she suggested Jong Han consider going to the Magic Academy. Hearing this, Jong Han pulled a long face. Go to school at the academy? Let me deal with those thieves first. The next second, Shin started rolling on the ground. If you help me get revenge, I'll consider your suggestion. Shin squinted her eyes. Then it settled. After that, Jong Han bought a group of slaves to use as bait. Just as Jong Han was preparing, an arrow flew in from the distance. This attack was instantly blocked by Jong Han. Sure enough, the bait had drawn the attention of the eye-thieving bandits. They even brought out their leader. Suddenly, a large group of accomplices appeared on the surrounding high walls. Jong Han's face showed a surprised expression. So, an entire thieving gang has shown up, huh? Their leader jumped down directly. The god behind Jong Han impatiently urged him to deal with it quickly. Jong Han instantly exploded into action, starting his killing spree. In no time, the whole gang was knocked down. He then called for the city guards and conveniently completed a bounty task. The slimes in the city also began cleaning up the battlefield. In the end, only one large bone remained, not yet broken down. This immediately caught Jong Han's attention, and all of this was under the god's control. The god, in order to urge Jong Han to go to the academy, kept repeating the benefits of going to the academy, but Jong Han was very reluctant. At this moment, a burly knight appeared behind Jong Han, looking at the knight who was babbling on. Jong Han's face showed a surprised expression. I'm afraid I've become a wanted criminal for attempting to murder a royal family member. Is this knight here to capture me? At this moment, the god gestured. The knight plans to buy this bone and give it to his son at the academy. The god again urged Jong Han to take this opportunity to go to the academy. So Jong Han agreed to let the knight buy the bone, but with an added condition. That is, the knight must send him to the academy for training. The knight, upon hearing this, was quite surprised. He then decisively refused Jong Han's request. This time, without even needing translation, Jong Han understood the knight's intent. The god, whose plan had failed, was clearly irritated. Just as Jong Han was thinking, Daika suddenly appeared. Then, she hugged Jong Han and complained that he had left her alone in the inn. She clung to Jong Han. The knight beside them was immediately startled. The demon is actually appearing openly here? Daika softly asked. Who is this knight, my dear? Is this demon your subordinate? Daika received an affirmative answer. Otherwise, how would I dare to be so bold and walk out like this? At this moment, the god became impatient. He kept urging Jong Han to deal with the academy matter. After thinking for a moment, Jong Han decided not to wait any longer. The god kept urging Jong Han to hurry up and address the academy matter. After thinking for a moment, Jong Han decided he could no longer stand by and watch. She left Jong Han once again. Just as Jong Han was about to continue discussing the academy matter with the knight, a deafening dragon's roar suddenly echoed from the sky. The knight looked up and broke into a cold sweat. A massive red dragon appeared above the city. The dragon spoke in a deep voice. A disaster worse than death has returned. This time, I will wipe out all detestable humans. But in the next second, the dragon was shocked. It realized that although it had been resurrected, its level was only 1. The dragon held its head in disbelief, furiously shouting, "Who did this?" Jong Han saw the level 1 status and immediately understood. Of course this was the doing of our outsider god. The fire dragon, unaware of the truth, roared to the sky in rage. Who did this? Who dared mess with my level? Then naturally assumed it was the hero's doing. A burst of dragon breath surged from his mouth. Buildings within a 10-mile radius were instantly destroyed. Seeing this, the knight charged forward, ready to face the dragon head-on. At that moment, Shun started urging Jong Han to hurry up and take down the dragon, even gesturing his moves at him, to get him to demonstrate them to the knight. Jong Han finally understood Shin's intention. He immediately pulled out the legendary Holy. Meanwhile, the Fire Dragon King continued venting his rage. The city's guards quickly raised their bows and launched a volley of arrows. But to the Fire Dragon King, human arrows were nothing more than a tickle. Not only did they fail to hurt him, they completely enraged the dragon. At a critical moment, the city lord arrived just in time and blocked the dragon's breath with a full-force sword strike. To everyone's surprise, the city lord was actually capable. Now it's my turn. With that, Jong Han leaped high onto the rooftop. Meanwhile, the dragon swung its claws. Many soldiers screamed in agony. The dragon realized that as it killed, its level was... Seeing this, Shin once again urged Jong Han to finish the dragon quickly. But Jong Han still needed time to charge up enough power for a finishing move. So he ordered Daika to find a way to distract the fire dragon for now. The dragon looked toward the level 27 elite. The demon flew toward them at high speed, thrilled instead of frightened. Perfect. Become the experience I need to level up. But Daika wasn't a demon for all those years for nothing. She immediately unleashed the demon light cannon. It pierced through the dragon's wing in an instant. The fire dragon king erupted with heat surpassing 10,000 degrees. Daika barely held up a demon shield to defend against it. Meanwhile, Jiang Han was still charging energy, completely unmoved by the chaos around him. Shun was furious beyond belief. What the hell are you even doing? But in the next moment, Shun clamped her mouth shut, not daring to interrupt. Around Jiang Han, who was now blessed by 3 divine powers, a red vortex of energy formed. With all his strength, Jiang Han charged at the dragon. He slashed across the dragon's neck with a single blow. Everyone watching was completely stunned. Jiang Han flashed a victorious smile. Too easy. But the dragon wasn't dead just yet. Just as it tried to speak, Jiang Han chopped off the fire dragon king's head with one strike. The dragon's eyes were full of unwillingness that a mighty fire dragon king could die to a level 1 weakling. In its final moment before death, it cast a curse upon Jiang Han. I swear it with my soul. As the words fell, red strands of the curse gathered at Jiang Han's chest. The curse of dragon's wrath appeared in front of him. Jiang Han trembled with rage, wishing he could tear the interface apart. Even Daika, with all her experience, said she had never seen anything like this before. In her memory, dragons were prideful beings. Rarely could they not accept defeat. Jiang Han, enraged, shouted at the dead dragon, "You big lizard. Come back to life if you've got the guts. That curse is so petty. I just saved tens of thousands of people. No reward. And on top of that, I get hit with 7 curses when your life is in danger. The furious dragon will attack you." Jiang Han looked at the curse window, as an aura of despair darker than the curse itself loomed over him. At that moment, Daika happily looked at her pop-up panel. "How are you this happy while cursed?" "Because I wasn't cursed. I actually received a new blessing." Hearing that, Jiang Han was stunned. He immediately asked to see it. The moment he looked, he froze in shock. It was also dragon's wrath, but Daika's version stated that a furious dragon would protect her when her life was in danger. Jiang Han turned to look at the city lord. The city lord awkwardly looked away. Jiang Han rushed over to him and asked desperately, "Don't tell me you got the same thing?" When he got a confirming nod, Jiang Han collapsed to his knees. "Oh heavens, oh earth, why is the world so unfair?" After calming down, Jiang Han cheerfully looked at the pile of dragon scales and claws. But despite the mountain of treasure, he could only choose one item to exchange for an opportunity to enter the academy. Scene change. The city lord paraded the dragon's head through the streets. Jiang Han, standing behind the crowd, quickly caught his attention. After the parade, the city lord found a chance to speak. Jiang Han immediately asked Daika to translate. "I want the reward to be used to repair the city and help the families of those who died. If it weren't for me and my master, you'd be dead. We don't need your pitiful reward. Use it to help others instead." After translating, Jiang Han felt something was off. Why did the city lord's face? At that moment, a thick mist filled the air. It turned out the curse of dragon's wrath had been triggered. The city lord looked up in shock. A bone dragon, several meters long, appeared amidst thunder and lightning. Clearly, it was coming for me. What a ridiculous world. But I easily killed a living dragon just earlier, and now this pile of bones dares act up? Right then, the bone dragon appeared before Jiang Han. But after Jiang Han easily defeated the creature, countless curses manifested around him. Then, from both sky and earth, more bone dragons emerged. One even appeared right behind the city lord. Before he could react, the bone dragon rammed into him, sending him flying. The city lord crashed hard into a corner wall. At that moment, his dragon blessing was triggered. A bone dragon appeared above him in guardian form. Then it charged at the cursed bone dragon. Meanwhile, the demon Daika was growing exhausted after fighting so hard. As she blanked out for a second, a bone dragon slammed down toward her. Daika collapsed, seeing stars. Her dragon blessing was also activated. What the hell is going on? If this keeps up, the entire city will be destroyed. Looks like I need to end this now. With that, he charged forward with a sword. Just like that, the battle raged on until dawn. Even the tireless Jiang Han had to rest with his sword in hand. When Daika woke up, she said she'd never heard of bone dragons appearing in swarms. The Dragon King's curse shouldn't be that easily triggered, but Jiang Han already had a rough idea. Because of the outsider's blessing, he could reset his HP infinitely. So unlike werewolves who eat to gain power, he sacrifices his own HP to draw strength, which meant every time his HP hit bottom, the curse would be activated. But then his HP would recover thanks to the blessing. That infinite loop summoned infinite bone dragons. Luckily, the curse has a trigger limit, but under the outsider's effect, even that resets. So that means I have to limit the power I use. Realizing this, Jiang Han looked at the pile of dragon bones covering the street, unsure what to do. Just then, the city lord suddenly stood up from within the bones and invited Jiang Han to attend the academy with his son. Jiang Han looked puzzled. What was this old man talking about? Daika explained. The city lord wants you to go to school with his little brat. Jiang Han immediately shook the city lord's hand with a smile, gladly accepting the invitation. Meanwhile, the saintess was hosting a hero tournament. Suddenly, an urgent report interrupted her. Last night, the Red Dragon King RK appeared in a northern city of the Night Kingdom. Are you sure the intel is accurate? The horn count and scale color match the descriptions in the ancient texts. But that dragon was slain by the saintess centuries ago. I'm certain the Red Dragon King is dead. I saw its corpse with my own eyes. Could a god have revived it? I don't think so. The gods are too busy watching this tournament. They wouldn't waste time on that. Maybe the gods got the location wrong. Besides, there shouldn't be any heroes there. Why would the gods revive a dragon? Could it be that Jiang Han survived the goddess's pursuit? He must have had a god helping him block her tracking. The saintess scolded her subordinate for telling her such important news so late. She hurriedly prepared to deal with it. But then, she suddenly stopped. The subordinate reported that the Red Dragon King had already been slain, supposedly by a knight. Hearing this, the saintess relaxed. Then it definitely wasn't the Red Dragon King. No way a single knight could slay a Dragon King. Elsewhere, Jiang Han had accepted the city lord's invitation to visit the castle. During the conversation, he learned that the city lord wanted Jiang Han to attend the academy with his eldest son, not his youngest who'd never been to the academy, just because the eldest son was too shy and ended up dropping out. That makes me sound like a glorified study companion. At this moment, the city lord's wife looked at Jiang Han with gratitude. If you agree, there will be a great reward. But when Daika translated this, it became, they want to bribe you with money. Are you sure that's what they mean? Please agree to their request for me. Daika immediately excitedly translated. Listen, knight. My master wants to see your useless eldest son. He hasn't even shown up to greet guests at home. Jiang Han immediately stood up. What did you just say? Why did the city lord and his wife suddenly seem so upset? Jiang Han, trying to comfort the city lord, watched the city lord's wife collapse onto the bed. Jiang Han quickly got up and asked Daika, what do you know about the academy? It's one of the 4 major academies established by humans. It was created to fight against us demons. They mainly teach barbaric violence. But even if they put in all their efforts, they're still just weak humans. So it turned into a place for socializing and forming cliques. At this moment, the city lord's foolish son barged in, angrily questioning Jiang Han, a level 1 newbie, daring to make his parents cry. Draw your weapon. I'm going to duel with you. The foolish son's expression didn't need translation by Daika. Jiang Han roughly understood what was going on. Since your father entrusted you to me, I can't let him down. Looks like I need to teach you properly how to be a good student. He then punched him. 2 punches later, the kid was sent flying out the door. Looking at the city lord's eldest son slumped in the corner, Jiang Han couldn't help but recall when he first arrived in this world, naively believing the goddess would kindly send him home. The thought made him crush the door frame by accident. He suddenly realized, maybe he'd hit a bit too hard. He quickly went to check on the eldest son's condition. Just then, the dog-eared boy suddenly opened his eyes, and upon seeing Jiang Han, tried to run away. But before he got far, Daika knocked. Jiang Han felt he might have gone a bit overboard, so he decided to gift him some valuable dragon bones. When the city lord arrived and saw his son's swollen face, he couldn't believe that pig-headed mess was really his child. Jiang Han could only smile awkwardly. Under the mage's healing magic, the boy quickly regained consciousness. Jiang Han sighed with admiration. This healing really works wonders. But the kid immediately tried to fight Jiang Han again. Looks like you still haven't learned your lesson. Jiang Han released a powerful aura. A bone dragon appeared behind him. It lunged with a bite, but Jiang Han smashed its fangs with a punch the next second, and crawled out of its mouth. Jiang Han and Daika began their journey to the Hero Academy. But even now, Jiang Han still didn't know why he had to go to the academy. Shen only told him he'd understand once he got there. Soon, they arrived at the academy gates. But Jiang Han still had no idea of the reason. Shen quickly pretended to fall asleep, hugging her pillow. Looking around, Jiang Han felt this place was less like an academy, more like a fortress city. Seeing Jiang Han in his academy uniform, Daika excitedly said, Master, you're a level 1 newbie. You'll definitely be everyone's target. Scene change. Jiang Han never imagined that coming to another world would still require an entrance exam. The examiner was shocked. A level 1 freshman like you actually passed all physical tests. He then asked Jiang Han what he knew about elves. Jiang Han had quite the vivid impression. I was once shot by an elf's arrow, he replied. The examiner found him humorous, and noticed he possessed an elven blessing. He happily admitted Jiang Han into the academy. May this elf blessed new student enjoy his time here. If you ever need help, feel free to reach out to me anytime. And just like that, Jiang Han began his academy life. As he hesitated on where to go next, Shen suggested he check out a statue. Before Jiang Han could question it, Shen urged him to hurry up and go. Soon, the two of them arrived near the statue. Is this the statue you were talking about? Just then, the city lord's younger son walked over to Jiang Han. Jiang Han immediately asked his question. Who exactly is this statue of? Is he famous? The younger son responded with admiration. He was a powerful enemy of the Ice Guy hero. He once trained right here at this academy. An enemy of the hero? More questions filled Jiang Han's mind. He decided to investigate the statue in detail later. Just then, a shout came from the distance. You freshmen, stop wandering around. Come help us hang this banner. Jiang Han curiously asked, what's written on it? The student immediately roared. Are you blind? You level 1 trash. This is to welcome the newly enrolled heroes. Hearing that, the city lord's younger son got excited. We get to meet real legendary heroes. Prestigious academies really are something else. But Jiang Han panicked at the thought of meeting his old classmates. If they're here, that means the goddess must have come with them too. Is it too late to run away now? but Shun patted her chest confidently. Don't worry. They haven't arrived yet. She reminded him once more how important that statue was. Jiang Han looked at the statue, deep in thought. Why didn't she just tell me? Is it something the gods can't speak of? Just then, a senior's loud shout brought Jiang Han back. Stop daydreaming. Come with me and get to work. Jiang Han, unsure of his rough foreign language, asked awkwardly, what did you say? To his surprise, the senior grabbed his collar. If you don't get it, just come. Clueless, Jiang Han cheerfully followed him away. Soon, they arrived at a secluded corner. Nearby, two others were arguing. The red-haired senior's sister slapped one of them. Meanwhile, Jiang Han was pinned against the wall. You know where you are? This place isn't under school jurisdiction. Jiang Han calmly asked. So that means there are no cameras, right? You level 1 newbie, what are you thinking? Still haven't figured out what's going on? Before he could finish, Jiang Han grabbed him by the neck. If no one's in charge here, then I can do whatever I want, right? He summoned a hammer from a portal. Maybe this is a bit much? Then brought the hammer down hard. The red-haired girl was shocked by the scene. A level 1 newbie just took down a level 17 senior, but she didn't reflect on her own behavior. Instead, she yelled at Jiang Han for being insane. I think your actions were even crazier. Did you forget no one's watching this place? He then lifted her effortlessly as well. Jiang Han smiled and told the bullied blonde girl, you can leave now. I want some alone time with these two gentlemen. Soon after, screams echoed throughout the academy. Scene change. Jiang Han returned to the dorm. He looked at Daika lying on the bed. Jiang Han asked dumbfoundedly, you sleep at night? Normally speaking, slaves sleep on the floor with a blanket. But I guess I'm not really normal. Huh? Can I? Jiang Han flatly refused Daika's request. There's something more important to do now. Time to explore the academy at night. To gather information, Jiang Han went to a tavern. Upon entering, he saw a bunch of drunk thugs. His targets were 3 of them. I heard you guys know a lot about the academy's history, so I came here especially to ask. One of the drunk men asked who had sent him. Naturally, it's the 2 respected seniors. This will take a while. Then, he pulled out a bag of gold coins to show his intent. I need a way to get into the academy right now. But the drunk man instead turned to Daika. He even mocked Jiang Han, a level 1 weakling. How could a level 27 high-level demon servant be with him? He then demanded Jiang Han leave his servant behind to hear the plan. Before he finished speaking, Daika kicked him away. The people in the tavern immediately surrounded them. But the next moment, Jiang Han's face turned slightly red, feeling a bit embarrassed. He saw Daika defeat all the drunk men with her long legs. However, Jiang Han's attention wasn't on that. Today's panties are actually black. The scene shifted. A student was on a night patrol. Jiang Han suddenly pounced from behind. Because the academy's night assault defense was also part of the students' evaluation system, Jiang Han successfully infiltrated here, but he could only knock them out, not kill them. The restriction was a bit annoying. The 3 of them quickly arrived near the statue. At this moment, Daika spoke of the statue's secret. It said that Peta was exiled for falling for a hero's woman. Eventually, he joined. After becoming a vampire, he successfully took that woman away. Jiang Han looked at Daika with admiration. You actually know so much. But the god mentioned there are answers here. Why didn't I notice? I think I already know the answer. Don't you find it strange? Between Peta and the female knight, there was no obstacle. And yet, Peta looked at the female knight. The female knight, however, was looking somewhere else. So, we just need to follow the female knight's gaze. That should reveal the answer. The direction of the gaze should reveal the answer. Moments later, the 2 arrived at the point where the gaze was fixed. On the ground, there was a strange symbol. It turned out to be a map. It looks like it's guiding us somewhere, waiting for Pedanicus. According to legend, long ago, a mermaid lived in the lake. After waiting too long for Pedanicus, she turned to stone. Following the direction related to Pedanicus in the tale, the 2 really did find a statue of a mermaid. Is this the mermaid from the story? Recently, the monsters around the academy have become unusually timid. Our mission is to find out the reason behind this change. After this, we'll have class every 2 weeks. Jiang Han casually turned to his deskmate. Sounds interesting. What do you think, Malpus? The 2's chatter immediately caught Sarah's attention. Please keep quiet. No talking. Otherwise. Just then, Sarah spotted a familiar face. She instantly recognized Jiang Han, her old friend, and immediately took back what she said. Today's class is over. From now on, this class will be held daily at this time. She then left the classroom blushing. Jiang Han, however, blamed Malpus for all this. It's all because of him that he now has to attend daily class. The next day, Sarah's first class was capture enough slimes. Jiang Han simply pulled out a bone and instantly attracted over 100 slimes. Sarah praised Jiang Han with excitement, saying she had never met such a clever student. She used that as an excuse to give Jiang Han a private lesson. Scene change. Sarah cheerfully greeted Jiang Han. Jiang Han politely responded, "Good day, teacher." But this made Sarah angry. Didn't we agree that in private, you wouldn't address me so formally? Jiang Han stammered, "Okay, Miss Sarah, Miss Sarah." Then Sarah explained today's lesson. How to get along with friendly monsters. If you were my slime, I'll show you how to treat them properly. She then walked over to a large tree and signaled Jiang Han to lie on her lap. Jiang Han calmly followed her instructions. Sarah asked in confusion, "Did I scare you? I rush things?" Jiang Han quickly replied, No, it's fine. Thanks to the outsider's blessing, he remained completely composed. Meanwhile, the divine spirit behind him stared coldly at the scene. Jiang Han began to reflect seriously, whether it was Sarah, or Lisa, or that other female classmate from before. Why do people always cling to me? After a night of special hunting, Jiang Han happily opened DK's status window. But even though DK leveled up from 27 to 31, why haven't I gained the curse of greed? At this moment, DK said this was expected. It's not so easy to achieve. But we did gain something. Then, DK immediately remembered the mercenary boss's attitude. Please don't bring any more wolf ears back. The branch's safe has been emptied. We can't afford the commission for this mission anymore. If you have any questions about this, you should change the mission requirements. We've completed your mission. Are you trying to back out? Since that's the case, I have another task you can take on. You will be satisfied with it. This is an S-rank task. The scene shifted. Jiang Han arrived at the mission site, holding a shovel. This S-rank task is to dig here. Jiang Han, fuming, complained as he dug. This S-rank task looks like tomb raiding. DK, standing beside him, said, this should be more interesting than class. 30 minutes passed. Jiang Han had dug a deep pit. Even Jiang Han, as strong as iron, felt tired. It would be better to just blow this place up with magic, but you might destroy important relics. There might be huge secrets hidden here. So do I have to dig by hand? I wish I had more people to help. At that moment, Jiang Han remembered the holy sword he hadn't used in a long time. He then opened the relic's portal. He planned to summon some people from the relic to work. Soon, a group of strong men walked out. Jiang Han had transformed from a laborer to a foreman. He sat leisurely on the grass, resting. Shin immediately commented, this is not something an outsider should do. When others are working, I'm resting. Isn't that in line with the outsider definition? Shin was persuaded by Jiang Han's smooth words. That makes sense. Jiang Han watched the workers. He thought, did I bring too many people? That makes a lot of sense. Jiang Han watched the workers. Jiang Han wondered if there were too many people who had come. At that moment, a villager approached with food. He asked Jiang Han if he wanted a midnight snack. Jiang Han replied that more company would be nice too. He then learned from the villager that a hero had arrived at the ruins. Right now, that hero was still training in the warehouse. Jiang Han got goosebumps all over. Good thing he didn't go to the ruins. Otherwise, the goddess might have caught him. As dawn approached, Jiang Han got up and headed for class at the academy. Before leaving, he told Daika to keep watch over the workers. On the way, Jiang Han racked his brain, but couldn't figure out what class was about. The entire lesson was just Could it be the effect of the elven blessing? After so many days, Jiang Han still didn't realize that the elf teacher was the one he saved from the dungeon. Shin was clearly annoyed by Jiang Han's obliviousness. Just then, the homeroom teacher walked over. From now on, no matter your exam results, you will remain in the elite class. Jiang Han was utterly confused. Why am I receiving such special treatment? The teacher's next words stunned Jiang Han. Because you're a friend of Professor Sarah. But there's a condition. You must complete a task in order to pass. This task could even affect our academy's reputation. Jiang Han politely agreed. Once his mission was assigned, the homeroom teacher immediately left. Not long after, Jiang Han went to find Daika to complete the task. They exchanged quick greetings. Then Jiang Han asked Daika to come on a mission with him. Daika quickly picked up on the scent of elves coming from Jiang Han. Cut it out. Just come with me. Scene change. Jiang Han brought Daika to the grasslands. He explained the mission. To catch a strong enough pet, Daika covered her mouth and laughed. You already have a powerful demon like me. What else are you looking for? Shin chimed in. You should tame a fierce dragon. Daika had a similar thought. A pet strong enough for you might only be a dragon. How would I find something like that here? Just then, Daika said there might be a monster that suited him. What monster? Hurry, tell me. That would be me. Dialoka. Jiang Han and Shun fell silent instantly as the binding tightened. The giant beast collapsed and foamed at the mouth. Soon after, it completely passed out. The beast sighed. What a lucky day. Then he noticed Jiang Han at the edge of the cliff. Blushing, he bragged he'd take Jiang Han away for some fun. Daika scoffed and shook her head. Then, under Jiang Han's stunned gaze, she leapt down. The beast hadn't realized how serious things were. Daika grabbed him by the tail. Trash like you dares claim my master? Then she charged forward and knocked out the bluffing beast with one punch. You, a pathetic Karami, want to be my master's pet? Just as Daika was about to finish the lowly creature off, Jiang Han suddenly stopped her. This guy talks like a human. He might help with the task. While Daika was distracted, the beast smacked her with its tail and fled as fast as it could. As it ran, it shouted, "Consider yourself lucky today." But in the next second, karma hit. Jiang Han stared in stunned silence as a chubby creature swallowed the beast whole in one bite. Shin said, "That's a cute dragon." Jiang Han nearly fell over. You call that a dragon? Huh? Aren't dragons supposed to look like the ones we saw earlier? Just then, the dragon curse was triggered. The tiny dragon glared angrily at the cursed Jiang Han. Alright then, guess this thing really is a dragon. As the baby dragon's massive paw came down, Jiang Han didn't panic one bit. Why does everyone always want to kill me? With a casual strike, he knocked back the raging dragon. The baby dragon stared in tears at its airborne meal. Jiang Han floated high in the sky and began recounting how he was summoned to this world by a goddess. All of his built-up energy was unleashed in that moment. A 10-meter-long sword aura shot straight toward the ground. Under the blinding crimson light, the dragon baby instantly regained his senses. A second later, the attack narrowly missed his wings. Staring at the bottomless chasm beside him, the dragon baby broke into a cold sweat. From now on, you're my pet. The sea dragon trembled in fear at Jiang Han's terrifying strength. Meanwhile, Jiang Han started to worry. How much food would this guy eat every day? Daika pointed at the tail and explained that sea dragons aren't. They eat anything. Even steel could be considered food. The terrified sea dragon slowly opened one eye to observe Jiang Han's movements. Jiang Han quietly placed his palm on its forehead and spoke softly. From now on, you'll come with me. Your name will be Cogmos too. Daika glanced at the sea dragon with a look of sympathy. Jiang Han was thrilled to have gained a powerful new pet. The two of them cheerfully sat on Cogmos 2's back and began their journey home. Soon, everyone at the academy noticed the sky darkening. Looking up, a massive blue sea dragon soared through the sky, its wings blotting out the sunlight. Jiang Han flicked its head in frustration. I told you to stay low-key. Get down right now. News of Jiang Han riding a dragon spread rapidly throughout the academy. Even the dean gasped in shock and asked Jiang Han what had happened. After a moment's thought, Jiang Han explained. He found the dragon by the roadside. No one wanted it, and it looked pitiful, so he decided to take it in. You guys don't object, right? Soon, Jiang Han began training the sea dragon's combat abilities. He rolled up his sleeves and gripped a log several meters long, then hurled it into the distance. The log soared past Cogmos. Jiang Han's voice rang out, fetch. Cogmos let out a joyful roar toward the sky and dashed off after the log. Jiang Han and the elf teacher watched from where they stood. Sarah spoke up, praising. Cogmos is such an obedient guy. Jiang Han grinned. I think so too. Just then, a student rushed over holding his pet. He pleaded with Sarah for 2 minutes of her time. His request interrupted the rare moment of closeness. Sarah angrily refused. Can't you see we're in the middle of a critical tutoring session? Whatever it is, wait until class is over. But the student wouldn't give up. Holding up his pet, he said, if you see my friend, you'll definitely change your mind. This is my friend. Can he attend class with me? Sarah immediately recognized it. An extremely rare divine beast. Jiang Han, however, thought it looked more like a pink toy pig. Sarah also identified it as a descendant of a divine pet, but still rejected him. After all, she wasn't here just for the pet. Jiang Han, however, got an idea. If someone else attended class for him, he could escape tutoring. But his excitement quickly faded. No need to say it. His plan failed. Sarah had no interest in divine pets at all, maybe because she already had a phoenix. The next day, Jiang Han appeared in class as usual, but this time, they had a new teacher, a teacher of dark magic from the academy. Her first question was, what do you think of dark magic? Then she answered herself. Most people think dark magic is evil, but that's a misunderstanding. Dark magic originated from a demon with an exceptionally long life, a being with immense vitality. Dark magic can even consume one's own life force, so whether it's evil depends on the user. Jiang Han listened with great interest at first, pondering the origin of dark magic, but before long, he was fast asleep on his desk. That night, Jiang Han returned to the treasure-digging site. Upon seeing Daika, he raised a question. Today I learned the principles of dark magic, but why can't elves use it? Daika began to explain. Unlike demons or angels, elves don't have long lifespans. They live longer by minimizing their consumption. A wound that a human could heal in a day would take an elf 2 weeks. They need far more time to restore their energy. But for demons have long lifespans and recover quickly. That's why elves can't use dark magic. The two are simply not comparable. Naturally, their performance at night is also on different levels. But Jiang Han fixated on the recovery speed. So the key is vitality. Just then, cheers erupted from the surrounding workers. They had finally unearthed the hidden treasure. Jiang Han smiled as he watched the scene unfold. After over a month, they found it. But it looks a lot deeper than I imagined. Still, the two of them jumped in without hesitation. In the darkness, Daika's flames suddenly lit up. Jiang Han clutched his mouth in pain. He had no idea what he just hit. They were confused. Nothing seemed unusual ahead. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed behind them. They turned to see a giant green pudding-like brute looming before them. Daika identified it as a troll. But Jiang Han didn't flinch. He drew his holy sword in a flash and sliced it clean in half. The body parts flew everywhere, nearly hitting Daika. But just as they dealt with one, 2 more trolls came charging at Jiang Han. Moments later, silence fell again. Shattered chunks of flesh scattered all around. Covered in green goo, Jiang Han nearly vomited. What a disgusting way to die. Suddenly, Jiang Han's ring began to glow. It pointed straight ahead. Looks like the mercenary guild leader wasn't lying. There really is an S-grade treasure here. But all that stood before them was a drafty wall. When he struck it with full force, a vast underground chamber revealed itself. Surprisingly, it felt lived in. Yet there were no signs of human presence. As Jiang Han stepped on the fallen wall, a hand suddenly shot out from underground. Startled, Jiang Han leapt back. Muscular arms emerged from the ruins, smashing the surrounding stones in an instant. Why are you here? Only a witch can unlock this hidden prison. The old man clutched his head in pain. Damn witch. Answer me. Jiang Han said nothing. This guy is clearly not in his right mind. Why is everyone down here so crazy? The next second, he dodged the old man's attack with a leap. The old man kept muttering damn witch under his breath. Jiang Han landed. If you've got a grudge against the witch, go find her. Seeing this, Jiang Han stopped holding back. He swung the holy sword hard and knocked the old man back. Jiang Han followed up with a powerful sword slash. The old man's head flew clean off. His jaw nearly hit the floor. Flesh began rapidly regenerating from the man's chest. The next moment, he charged back from afar. Jiang Han gave Daika the order. Go, Daika! Under the power of the slave's blessing, Daika raised her leg and kicked the muscular old man flying. At the same time, she shrieked. You used your first slave's blessing for this. But when Jiang Han saw the old man stuck to the ceiling, he felt Daika should have kicked him even farther. Daika huffed, stop bothering me, then chose to sit on top of the old man, keeping him from going berserk again. Meanwhile, Jiang Han summoned his village to help retrieve anything valuable. While waiting, Daika finally pieced together the story. According to the murals, a powerful witch captured this man long ago. That witch's power was even comparable to the gods. The divine spirit behind Jiang Han scoffed in disbelief. Just then, the old man came to his senses. After that witch captured me, I never saw my child again, but I can't remember anything else. Seeing that he was just a pitiful soul, Jiang Han took out the holy sword and offered him a gift. A golden vortex opened in the ceiling, and 5 or 6 sacks of dragon bones fell down. The old man stared. A second later, he knelt before Jiang Han in gratitude. Soon after, Jiang Han continued exploring deeper. Suddenly, mountains of green monsters appeared before him. They weren't hard to dodge, but there were way too many. Jiang Han quickly came up with a plan. He picked up Daika and told her to hold on tight, though it was risky. But now, there is no better choice. He used the dragon's curse to summon a large number of bone dragons. When they saw Jiang Han surrounded in the center, the bone dragons instinctively thought they were allies. The next moment, the monsters began fighting the bone dragons. After fighting for 2.5, Jiang Han protected Dika beneath him. Dika, are you still alive? After a moment of silence, Dika replied, I'm dead. Then she grabbed Jiang Han's collar with one hand and kissed him passionately. Seeing this, the outsider god was also stunned. He angrily shouted. Everyone instantly fell to the next level. Dika asked in confusion, did you know there was another level below? Jiang Han, however, painfully bit his lip without replying. The god of outsiders felt very displeased. At this moment, the ring on Jiang Han's hand suddenly glowed. The treasure must be nearby. Let's find it quickly before the monsters arrive. Soon, the two arrived in front of a golden door. We must have reached the end this time. It seemed the door sensed the arrival of the ring and slowly opened. Jiang Han and Dika were stunned by what they saw inside. A cloth was flowing down from the ceiling. In the mist, they vaguely saw 3 figures. At this moment, the mermaid's voice suddenly spoke. My dear husband, welcome. Upon hearing this, Dika's veins bulged in anger. It looks like there's still some experience here for me to level up. The god of outsiders also agreed with this viewpoint. Jiang Han told them to calm down first and asked, what's going on here? How did the treasure become a husband? The mermaid smiled slyly. You accepted my blessing ring, didn't you? Upon hearing this, Dika's pupils contracted. You're that witch from years ago? You're still alive? She was the only one in history who wasn't a hero, but still killed the demon king alone. But she betrayed the hero. You're right. I put everything into past love. I am a monster who betrayed the hero. The only way I can seek redemption is through death. My dear husband, can you help me find peace? Is even death this magical in this world? Jiang Han immediately urged Dika to jump. The mermaid laughed loudly upon seeing this. How will you dodge in the air without wings? Her finger moved slightly upward. Jiang Han was instantly submerged in water, but one wing opened in space. Dika used her demonic advantage to lift Jiang Han and hover in the air. With Dika's help, Jiang Han became a shadow and flew towards the enemy. He swung at the 3 enemies with all his might. The mermaid couldn't dodge and was split in half. But the next moment, Jiang Han watched as the enemy's wounds healed like bubbles. They also unleashed waves of water to restrain Jiang Han. The mermaid laughed loudly. Sure enough, warriors are simple-minded. Jiang Han chuckled. You might be disappointed. Sorry, I know a bit of magic too. The mermaid was shocked as she saw the energy ball in Jiang Han's hand. The next second, her upper body was completely blasted to pieces. As expected, the mermaid began to rapidly regenerate. Soon, she returned to her original form. The mermaid excitedly said to Jiang Han, my dear husband, your black magic is amazing. Everything about you makes me fall for you. But Jiang Han quickly came up with a new strategy. She has regeneration abilities like a half-orc guardian. In this enclosed space, I can't solve her. So, he gathered his power into the holy sword. He swung the strongest strike. This same move won't work on me. An intense explosion occurred at the mermaid's location. That being said, killing you is not my true goal. Jiang Han ran and grabbed the mermaid's tail. Then, he commanded the holy sword to open the portal to the ruins. With a powerful throw, he tossed the tail inside. This time, the mermaid did not reappear. Looks like we've truly defeated the mermaid. Does this mean that everything I collected earlier has turned to dust as well? Besides this, don't you have something more urgent to consider? What? The treasure? If that witch's gift was the blessing ring, then the witch is gone. This ruin no longer has any rewards or guardians. So these ruins can't maintain their function anymore, right?